Number 1242, 2024, would authorize the Director of Public Safety to apply for and accept a grant in the amount of $16,500 from the Ohio Office of Criminal Justice Services for the fiscal year 2023 Recovery Ohio Law Enforcement Recruitment Grant. This grant would provide funding for advertising, supplies, and materials for the Division of Police recruitment and recruitment events for the Division of Police, Department of Public Safety. This grant award amount is $16,500 and does not include a matching fund requirement. With me at the table, I have Chief Todd and her team, and we are here to answer any questions.
Thank you. Councilman Polensek, this was heard in public safety?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Or did you relieve it out of public safety?
No, we heard it in public safety, we vetted it, asked questions, and we in total support of it.
Okay. Do we have any other questions regarding ordinance number 1242-2024? Seeing no questions, ordinance number 1242-2024 stands approved. Please sign on. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
I'm going to ask our guests if Tom McNair and our guests from Downtown Cleveland Improvement District, if they could join us. This is ordinance number 1273-2024 by Council Members McCormick, Hairston, and Griffin by departmental request authorizing the Director of Economic Development to sign a petition in support of continuing the Downtown Cleveland Improvement District and to request that certain city properties be included in the district. Director.
Thank you, Council President, members of the committee. So I feel like this is a really important piece of legislation that would enable the city to sign a petition to enter our properties into the Downtown Cleveland Improvement District. I was actually a downtown resident when in 2006 this district was formed. I remember Councilman Joe Simperman standing up at Gateway Plaza saying everything changes starting today. In a lot of ways, he was right. The downtown that I moved into in the early 2000s, late 1990s, was filled with a lot of boarded up vacant storefronts. I watched that transformation of downtown take place, and this program had such a huge part of making that transformation of downtown a reality. And I know firsthand, as somebody who once operated a special improvement district, we are asking private property owners to sign on for a petition to assess themselves additional taxes to do work above and beyond what the city can provide. And one of the things that they are always looking for is, well, where is the city coming in on this? And so, again, the ability for us to enter into this petition, which would take 41 properties that are under the city's control downtown, which is only about 3% of the total district, right? Of which those city properties are only 4.56% of the total value of those properties downtown, right? And it would be about a $489,000 contribution. That's the annual estimate at this point going in. But that would replace the $500,000 that is currently going into Public Square. This is the city kind of stepping in a way that is on peer with all the other property owners, which is a way to help leverage a $5 million investment made by private property owners in the cleaning, safety, and marketing services of our downtown. So again, I have seen this from the other side. I think this is something that is going to be very important to private property owners as they make their decision on renewing this. And I think it's a fair and equitable way for the city to participate.
Mr. Chairman,
and with that, I will hand it over to Mr. Deemer if there's anything he would like to add.
Sure. Thank you, Director, and to the Chair, members of Council. Really want to reiterate the remarks that Director McNair just made. We respectfully are requesting the city to opt into the Special Improvement District for the first time. The district does provide enhanced services to the district above and beyond what the city does. Of course, our flagship program in the Improvement District is our Clean and Safe program. We have ambassadors on duty 7 a.m. to midnight, 7 days a week that are picking up litter, removing graffiti, working hand in hand with the Cleveland Police, working hand in hand with outreach workers who are administering the Home for Every Neighbor program and making sure that we're housing our unsheltered population. So these are very important, impactful services to residents of the city and to downtown. And as the director noted, the city's participation will, help ensure the stability of the district, the continuation of the services, and I think also signal an important message to the private property owners that are contributing over $5 million a year to the district and have been supporting the district going back to 2006 for nearly 20 years, that the city is really a full partner in the work that we're doing. So I would respectfully ask for your support.
So thank you. Before I go to a couple of my colleagues for comments, we were putting money into the group plan originally. We discontinued that this year. So pretty much what you're looking at trying to do is utilize the dollars that we were putting forth for the group plan to utilize it for this effort. Is that pretty much the case, Mr. McNair and Mr. Damer?
Mr. Chairman, that is correct.
Okay. All right. DPS, Councilman Hairston, you relieved this to Finance?
I did not, Mr. Chairman.
You did
but
not?
I see it made it on anyway. My understanding is this agreement did not end until next year, and so I didn't think that there was a hurry up and pass today, but
So
feel free to move forward. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You said what now?
I said feel free to move forward. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Councilman McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate the folks here at the table today. Again, I think you summarized it pretty well. Historically, since the entire time I've been on council, and from what I understand, was a part of the initial public square agreement. So we invested annually into the group plan, which paid for a lot of the services in downtown that were not being performed by city workers, for example. So we are no longer, group plan has been disbanded officially at this point. Getting there. Okay.
To the chair, Councilman McCormick, almost.
Okay. So, but the point is that we are no longer using those dollars to invest in the group plan commission. And again, I think this is a really kind of smart way to still invest in that really important good work that we all appreciate. But because, again, group plan is not around anymore, Downtown Cleveland Alliance is now the organization that's taking over those responsibilities, with which, Mr. Chair, I'll just say I think is also good that we're consolidating down some of the overhead of these organizations, cutting back some of those costs so that one organization, Downtown Cleveland Alliance, can be much more efficient and strategic. And the last thing I'll say is when I first started, Mr. Chairman, and Mr. Deemer came on, we worked to also consolidate down the warehouse and the gateway, all folding into downtown. So I think they've done a really good job of working to become as efficient as possible, not have 6 different groups doing work downtown, but to really make things efficient and coordinated. So appreciate the council hearing this piece today. And again, I think it's an important component of kind of moving away from the Group Plan Commission, thanking them for their good work, and then shifting things to the Downtown Cleveland Alliance. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other? Councilman Polinsik? Yes. Councilman Casey?
Mr. Chairman, part of my challenge is here, I don't know if you gentlemen were here for the previous discussion on Gateway. They're talking about this NCA. I mean, I'm confused with all these various, 4 entities downtown that are taxing districts? I mean, I don't get it. Can you explain this one to me? What's the overlap here with this?
So through the chairman to Councilman Polinsik, I'm happy to answer. So special improvement district,
Right.
is what we're talking about today. So there is a boundary that is established, and then there is a scope of services that is developed. And that scope of services has everything that Mr. Deemer described, cleaning, safety, graffiti, litter removal, all these sorts of things. A budget is then established within that, and then there is a formula that is based upon your lineal frontage and value of your property that kind of determines your share of the pie, right? And so what this does is enables the city to opt in and pay this, because municipalities, churches, hospitals are not legally required to enter into this. And that can be a very big sticking point for private property owners. As a matter of fact, in Ohio City, when we established our special improvement district, we had many property owners that weren't going to buy in until we got Lutheran Hospital to opt into that, which they did. It enabled us to move forward. So I would consider this a core part of the upkeep, maintenance, beautification of downtown Cleveland. And then that is separate from a new community authority that may be levied as a way to collect additional special assessments that go in, not into that scope of services. It could be paid for other things such as Gateway Sports Complex. But
So
that's
this would-
not on the table today.
So, okay, so this would have nothing to do with the short of core thing?
No.
Nothing, okay. And so what is our contribution to be? What is the city's contribution?
So through the council president to Councilman Polensek, I believe this would enable us to sign petitions for 41 properties within the district, of which today that assessed value is estimated to be about $489,000 annually.
And where would those funds come from?
So my understanding is that those would likely come through the general fund as we navigate the budget process. And again, I think it is important to note that the city has been making a contribution directly into the Group Plan Commission, which is being removed, right? So we view this not only as kind of a one-for-one replacement, but doing it in a way that leverages and gets more buy-in from private property owners, which again, I cannot overstate the importance of continuing to get that $5+ million from those private property owners to go into a program like this, because we would not be able to afford it otherwise.
Okay. So the commitment from the private sector to date has been how much?
Mr. Chair, to the councilman, the program has been in place since 2006. The assessment level has changed over the years, but it's probably been in the ballpark of $50 to $60 million since
Okay.
2006.
Okay. So then my last point is this. I've been getting calls from downtown property owners and business people about the need, what they believe to be the need for additional security. And they want funds directed to hire sheriff's deputies to patrol the downtown out of your organization. So what are your comments on that?
Mr. Chair, to the councilman, I'm familiar with the proposal, which I think is well-intentioned, but misses the mark on a couple of points. I mean, one, the county government is not interested in going down that path.
Okay.
The county is. We are in discussions with the county to participate as a partner in the Special Improvement District, just as we're here talking to the city today. And, our board believes, and I believe, that we do need more uniformed personnel out in the streets enforcing the city's laws. I think the way to do that is to continue to progress on recruiting and retaining Cleveland police officers and augmenting that with the really holistic approach to safety that our organization brings, which is a visible, engaged presence of uniformed people walking the streets, performing multiple tasks, picking up litter, removing graffiti, serving as additional eyes and ears for the Cleveland police, and also activating and maintaining our public spaces in downtown that draws more people, more activity into the core.
Okay. And let me just wrap it up by saying the ones who've called me have been all appreciative of Councilman McCormick's advocacy for additional visibility and security. But at the end of the day, this is where I guess we have a difference of opinion. Everybody around this table want to see more Cleveland police officers. We've done everything through the chairman. We've done everything we could to fund the additional police officers, the fund equipment, you name it, we've done it and beyond, and then some. So your hope to get more police on the force is the same as ours, but at the end of the day, it hasn't happened. So that's where I continue to get these calls by people indicating that they believe security, and I've heard it repeatedly from them, they believe security and visibility is the number one concerns that they're confronted with downtown, with their employees and trying to attract people that come downtown. And again, they've all been appreciative of Councilman McCormick's advocacy. But at the end of the day, I'm just going to say this, leave it at this point. We can fund street sweeping and cleanup and all that stuff, which is very important. I'd like to get a special improvement district in 2 areas of my own ward, which I'm working at. But at the end of the day, if we don't have safety and security, and people are not safe and they're getting their cars broken into left and right, that is a major problem for us. So I just need to state that on the table. That is I've heard it repeatedly from retail operations, restaurants, and from apartment buildings downtown. So again, they've been appreciative of Councilman McCormick's advocacy, but I think at some point we're going to have to figure out a different strategy. Because if you're expecting CPD to come to your rescue, as we're all asking the same thing, it ain't going to happen until anytime soon. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And Councilman McCormick, before I go to Councilman Casey, just wanted to make a point, and then I'll go to Councilman Casey.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate Councilman Casey. Councilman Plesik's exactly right. We are hearing the same concerns, and I'll just note, I think A, it speaks to the importance of this partnership, but B, we're also looking much more intentionally around court watch and other things, because what we find is, unfortunately, sometimes a small group of people are wreaking the majority of the havoc. So, and our lovely esteemed judges over there in Cuyahoga County Court, someone will get arrested for something severe and out on the street the next day. And, our downtown stakeholders, like any neighborhood, can't understand why that's the case. So we are also looking more intentionally, not only around visibility on the street, but also for those folks that are coming into downtown to cause harm. We're going to follow you through the system and make sure you're held accountable.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Brian Casey and then Councilwoman Stephanie House-Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Often council or the administration or whomever always looks at two different aspects. They look at downtown versus the rest of the city, right? And I just, through the chairman to Mr. Deemer, I wanted to thank you because for those of you who don't know, Mr. Deemer reached out to me, invited Brianna to be part of the lighting ceremony on Saturday night. Not only did the poor girl think she actually lit up the whole city by hitting the switch, she did, but she also got to wish my wife a happy birthday, which she shares with Mr. Deemer. So I looked at that as, one, having somebody with a disability be included in something that big for the city, which I think was an awesome thing. But I kind of looked at it a little differently as well when I got your message, because you reached out to somebody who, with all due respect to Councilman McCormick, because he's an absolute awesome council person for downtown, but you included somebody who didn't represent downtown, right? And I kind of looked at it like an olive branch from Downtown Cleveland Alliance reaching out to somebody else who represents a part of the city saying, hey, look, it's okay to come down and be a part of this. And I think that Downtown Cleveland Alliance should do more of that, right? You should include more council members who represent the majority of the city, right? And invite them downtown so that they can witness something. I mean, I was standing on stage and there's 30,000 people down there for the lighting ceremony, and had I not been invited, I probably would have never went and, we turned the lights on, right? Yeah. But to be able to experience that from somebody who doesn't represent downtown, I think aside from going downtown for an event like a Guardians game or a Cavs game, when you do have events like that downtown, you should include the rest of the council. So I just wanted to extend my thank you for including her, but I looked at it in a different lens, is that somebody else, the rest of the city, it's okay for the rest of the city to be involved in things that happen downtown as well, especially the elected. So even though Councilman McCormick does a great job, we're not here to take his place. That's it. But I just thought it was kind of cool that I don't represent downtown, but we were invited to go down there for it. Do you know what I'm saying? So Mr. Chairman and Mr. Deemer, thank you very much. I appreciated it.
Thank you, Councilman Casey. Councilwoman Stephanie House Jones.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Through the chair, to the team here. Quick question, if you can walk me through the assessment for the city of Cleveland in the years 2026 to 2032, or is it on one of these sheets? Or what, yeah, if you can explain that to me, because I'm here going through the 51 pages. Excuse me. And I'm just trying to see what the city of Cleveland's obligation will be for that duration.
So through the chair to Councilwoman House Jones, and I do not see the 51 pages that you are looking at, but I'm assuming that what is in there is a copy of the petition. So for every property that the city of Cleveland owns, and there are 41 within that district, we will have to sign a petition that kind of states the address of that property, the permanent parcel number, and authorizes us to sign on to the special improvement district. We will need 60% plus one of the property owners based on that formula to come through for the special improvement district to pass. If so, we are then obligated for the period of 2026 to 2032 to pay our portion, which again in totality is estimated to be at roughly $489,000 into the assessment. And so, as you may be aware, the way that will work, when the taxes are levied against this, we will collect taxes. Those will go to the county. They will then come back to the city of Cleveland as a special assessment, and then they will be sent to the DCA for purposes of enacting that scope of service.
Yeah, so, okay, through the chair to the director, so I know you say 41 properties, but this is way more than 41 properties, so help me explain this here, if you don't know what I'm talking about.
Please.
I'm gonna send this to you. And that goes on for at least 20 pages.
Yes, so what you are, through the chair to Councilwoman House Jones, so what you are seeing here are the entirety of the entirety of the properties that are within that district.
Right.
Right, and so column, the third column over, which is the deeded owner, you would be looking for ones that are only owned by the city of Cleveland. So like here's some that are Calfee, Halter, and Griswold. Obviously, they get their own vote.
So just a clarification,
Yes.
the city of Cleveland has 41 properties? The city of Cleveland has 41 properties in this area?
Correct.
Okay, that's what I was trying to figure out.
Correct.
And where is the 41 properties that the city of Cleveland owns in this area? What is the projected, as you can see there, from 2026 to 2032?
Yes.
What is the actual projections for the city of Cleveland? Because that's what I don't see.
Yes, ma'am. So that is, through the chair to Councilwoman House Jones, so that is projected in totality at about $489,000 annually, right? So each property
And so
will have
that's, so
a...
you, so
If
just
we
to
could
clarify.
make sure we run every conversation through the chair, please.
Yes.
Thank you.
Through the chair to the director, so that totality of the, let me go, can you, I'm gonna go back to the numbers, sorry, because I did not write it down.
Yes.
So in the legislation where you have estimated the $3,738,149, that's the totality of what you are anticipating from 2026 to 2032?
Through the chair to Councilwoman House Jones, that is correct.
Okay. What would be helpful, I guess this is a request, if you, because again, what is today, it will, and again, people change, things change, but I think for our record, I would like to request that we actually get a breakdown, specifically similarly to what is being presented in the petition, something similarly, so that you can look holistically at the city of Cleveland's.
Through the chair to Councilwoman House Jones, I do actually have that spreadsheet, and I'll send it to the
Yeah, we
secretary.
don't. You
Okay.
So that's the one thing. And then separately, through the chair to the DCIC team, I guess this is a separate but a part of the conversation as people are talking about improving safety in downtown area, things of that nature. Hopefully, we will have an opportunity to engage with property owners of thinking about what it looks like to invest in our summer summer jobs. We have heard consistently from Youth Opportunity Unlimited of how our private businesses are not stepping up to the plate to invest in our summer learning, or specifically our summer job learning. We came back from the National League of Cities. I did the after-school network link. So I have all my literature about economic development and after-school and summer learning that explicitly talks about all the things. It talks about how businesses, executives, they believe Americans do not have the skills they need to do the jobs of today or tomorrow. I mean, it's all these things that go into depth about what is needs economically, and to have an actual safety strategy, which is connected to work, investing in our work. We know this past summer we had over 4,000 young Clevelanders who wanted a summer job but did not get it. That cost is an additional about $20 million. So we're talking about a $30 million proposition as a community. And so for as much as people are asking about we need more police, we know we need more police, and hopefully in a couple in 2 months I actually will be able to present an analysis of what actually is happening to our young people, because we don't tell that story. But it is very, very important for all these businesses who are asking, we need more police, but to also ask them to be a partner and investing in our summer youth jobs. That is a assured way that we can reduce and capture the attention of some of our young people who are off task, and will be a part of the solution in preventing many of the car break-ins and things that we are experiencing in the nation. So please, if you can, please share that message. Please get them connected to YLU. I will be reaching back out more explicitly, but I do want to put that on the record while people may be having some complaints about the investment in the Special Improvement District. Understand, as the city of Cleveland is being a partner in the Special Improvement District, we also want to have an expectation that our property owners are also looking into being a partner when we are paying between us and the county are paying over 90% of an investment in our youth summer program. Our kids need summer jobs. Our businesses are fully capable of paying a little more, because you can see on that list, when everybody puts a little bit in, you can get much more. And this is going to be their workforce of tomorrow and today. So again, please articulate that message, because I do not want to be in this place next year hearing that we had only one company that paid $6,000 to summer youth in Cleveland. That is unacceptable. So please convey that message.
Mr. Chair, to the councilwoman, would be happy to pick up this conversation. And I do want to say, we look very holistically at how we need to tackle safety in the city. And just to tie together some comments through the chair to the councilwoman, and back to Councilman Casey, we really do look at the city as a whole. I fully understand that we sometimes see other neighborhoods in downtown pitted against one another, but we really do see the city as one whole. We're all in this together, and we do, as an organization, think very comprehensively about how we need to tackle safety in the city. And so would be very happy, Councilwoman through the chair, to talk with you about youth employment opportunities and economic development in the neighborhoods.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not just even the money, it's also the opportunity,
Absolutely.
Right? Again, when you're talking about trying to provide pathways for over 5,000 kids, right? That takes a lot of businesses to be a host and or contribute, right? And so that is the expectation, again, because again, through the chair to the team here, when I had my last community meeting, I had a resident ask me, we don't want you to vote for this, we don't want you to vote for this Special Improvement District, right? And I told them, no, I am going to vote for it. I just want to be explicitly clear from my perspective of we all have to be true partners together. our businesses cannot just get everything that they want, not giving an equitable share back into our city of Cleveland. We need help, we need support, and as much as we are showing and demonstrating in real ways that we are a partner, there is an explicit expectation that our private businesses who are profitable and doing things, that they are also contributing back to the city of Cleveland. And I'm not talking about giving out a turkey, which we'll take the turkey too, but we're talking about real economics too. We ain't talking about just painting a locker. I'm talking about giving some real dollars that will help our young people today and actually be a part of what is proven to be a prevention strategy. A real violence prevention strategy is ensuring young people have jobs during the summertime, having mentorship, building relationships. That's what it is, and it's going to take our businesses stepping up in ways that they have not been doing in recent history. So I thank you very much, Council President.
Thank you so much, Council Lady. Seeing no other questions, ordinance number 1273-2024 stands approved. Please sign on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members of council.
All right. Community relations. This is ordinance number 1272-2024 by council members Polinsky and Griffin. By departmental request, an emergency ordinance to enter into an amendment to the agreement entered into under ordinance number 1250-2023 passed November 27th, 2023 relating to the 2024 Cleveland Youth Diversion Program. And I believe this was relieved by Councilman Polinsky. So this was relieved by Councilman Polinsky.
Yes.
Director, you have the floor.
Good afternoon to the chair and to the body. This is our youth diversion program grant that we're asking for an amendment. This will now go through December 31st, 2026. It also is increasing funding by $82,800. Which will not exceed $127,500. And I do have at the table Sharice Dawson, who manages the Youth Diversion Program for Community Relations.
Thank you. So this is pretty straightforward. Just to give me a scope, how long has this program been in place?
To the chair, the program has been in place since 1999.
Okay, thank you. All right. Any questions regarding ordinance number 1272-2024?
Mr. Chairman, the only thing I would ask of the director and Ms. Dawson, if you could update us since January of this year, doesn't have to do it now, provide to us how many youth have gone through the program, and if you can break that down by ward, I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
So if they can provide that.
Yes.
Actually, to the chair and to the councilman, we do have updated data for you all that we can hand out right now.
If you give it to Inez, then we'll all get it out. And we'll
Thank
go
you.
from there, okay? All right, thank you. Sin. Yes.
Mr. Chair, through the chair to the chief, you mentioned an increase of $80,000, that amendment. Is it that you needed additional dollars for the program? Is that what I understand?
To the chair and to the councilwoman, when we came to the table last year, we only were getting $44,000 previously. So and at the table was asking why were we getting less.
Got it.
So the county did go back and reevaluate the numbers and also the number of actual Cleveland youth that they have, and that's why we're being permitted to have the increase.
Good, okay, thank you, congratulations.
All right. All right.
That's awesome.
All right. Seeing no other questions, ordinance number 1272-2024 stands approved.
Thank you.
All right. Next up is public health. Public health, ordinance number 1313-2024, as amended by council members Conwell and Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Health to enter into one or more contracts with various agencies and entities to provide Moms First services to women at risk of poor birth outcomes for a period of 1 year. And the amendment stated as follows: there is no legal objection to this legislation if amended as follows. 1, in section 1, line 5, strike D and insert the. This was dated 11/27/24, signed by Kevin Roberts, Chief Assistant Director of Law. Director.
Thank you to the chair, members of council. We're here for our annual legislation to enter into contracts for the Moms First program to reduce infant mortality. And I'm going to introduce, or you all know Commissioner Lita Wills, who's going to introduce our new Moms First project director.
Thank you, Director. I just wanted to take a moment to make sure that council is Thank you. I wanted to make sure that council is aware that we do have a new Moms First project director who replaced Lisa Matthews, as you are aware, who retired after 30 years. This is Khadijah Fair, who some of you may know from Khadijah Fair. Some of you may know from her work at CMSD and also with the Transformation Alliance, a native Clevelander, born and bred here, and has been doing a lot of work in the early childhood space as well as children, youth, and family space, and has only been here for about a month. So we're trying to ease her into this work. And with that, I'm happy to either allow Khadijah to say a few words for herself.
Ms. Fair?
Sure. Thank you so much. Glad to be here. I'm excited to do the work.
Thank you. And we are also able to answer any questions about this particular piece of legislation.
Thank you. Councilman Conwell, this was relieved out of Public Health and Human Services and the Arts.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So what are you doing with the Transparency Project dealing with fatherhood? Now, you know, I'm pretty big on fatherhood. You know that?
Thank you.
No, with FAIR. Have they talked with you about it?
Yes, I'm aware of the Transparency Projects. We work with Ronald White, who works with the fathers, those who work with the fathers who have mothers who are in the Moms First program. So he is out in the community assisting with our goals and bringing fathers into the fold. There are different initiatives that he does. He does group education. He, what else does he do? He does group education with the fathers, and he does a lot of family-oriented programming with the fathers as well.
Okay. Have you witnessed him? Have you sit back and so you can learn also? I know he's been around for a while.
He has been around for a while. I have not been able to witness him in person yet, as I've been here for only a month. But I will be out in the community again, working with him, being able to see what he is doing, and being able to support him and you in any way I can.
I need some water. I'm there.
Thank you, Councilman Conwell. Do I have any additional questions on 1313-2024? Councilwoman Santana.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I just want to welcome you. Congratulations. I've had a chance to work with you for the past couple years, and you've been wonderful. So great addition to the team. So we're here to help.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Councilwoman Santana. Councilman Anthony Hairston.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Had no idea that this fantastic mother, City of Cleveland resident, had taken over as the project director for this program. Happy to welcome you aboard. She is active in her community, and she loves being a mother, and so this is a perfect position for Ms. Khadijah Fair. Very organized, very always on top of things. You know, you just get them emails from the Transformation Alliance, making sure we had all the information we needed. So happy to support and glad that you are over here with us.
Thank you, Councilman. Do you want to respond, Ms. Fair?
I was just going to say thank you so much, Councilman.
High praise. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And for a critical program, as you know, a critical program. Councilman Danny Kelly.
Through the chair to Lady Khadijah, I just want to welcome you also, all right? I worked with her with CMSD, and she was the best recruiter they had over there, and then she went over to Transformation Alliance, and Brother Harrison's absolutely right. She's a great mother. She lives in the city. She's active in the community. These are the kind of heroes and heroines we need here, bringing things forward. So thank you for being on board. Appreciate you. All right, on Angels Keep.
Thank you so much, Councilman.
And I want to add to that. I would tell you that my experience in working with Ms. Fair through the Transformational Alliance and everything else, she has always been professional, follows through. is a hard worker, and I was going to state the same thing you did, Mr. Kelly, is that every time I see her, she's with her son, and shows that she's an outstanding mom as well. So looking forward to working with you, and the kind of person that I think would be great for this program. So appreciate it. Okay.
So what neighborhood is she from?
Thank you, Council President.
So what neighborhood are you from?
Oh, I'm from Glenville, but
It's gone. Done deal, Glenville, top letters. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, yeah.
That's right, champions.
I currently live in the Collinwood area, Euclid Green. I know.
All right. All right, so seeing no other questions, ordinance number 1313-2024 as amended stands approved. Thank you, and great hire.
Thank you to the council.
Thank you. Thank you.
Credit to the
Appreciate it.
commissioner.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Commissioner.
All right. Okay, finance, y'all ready for a lightning round? Finance. This first one is ordinance number 1326 by Councilmember Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance to amend Section 2 of ordinance number 664-2024 passed August 10th as amended relating to community-based violence intervention and prevention initiative as part of the Cleveland Thrive program. And Director, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through the chair to the committee, this ordinance is to extend the Cleveland Thrive grant through September of 2026. As you know, these funds are used for the prevention and intervention of community-based violence. The Department of Justice has already approved this, and we are open to any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions regarding ordinance number 1326-2024? Seeing no questions regarding ordinance number 13, Councilman Richard Starr?
Hey, Chair, is this the same ordinance with the grants that we've been receiving since 2022?
Director?
Through the chair, yes.
And then through the chair to the director, since 2022, how much money have this work? How much money of the funding of the $2 million went to the neighborhoods for violence prevention work? What's the breakdown of how the money been spent since 2022?
Through the chair to Councilman Starr, the dollars were specifically for 3 deliverables: a violence prevention training process, which, as you know, thanks to you, Councilman Griffin, you were both in attendance. Dollars have also been spent on staffing. These dollars were also spent to support a program manager. Mr. Rich Austin is here at the table. And then the final dollars are to be spent on the blueprint, as well as any additional violence prevention strategies that come through the blueprint recommendations. The blueprint and the violence prevention strategy recommendations have not been implemented yet, which is why we need the extension.
So through the chair to the chief, that means the dollars has been going to do some different training initiatives, hire a couple staff, and no prevention work as far as outreach work to be able to have more people in the neighborhoods to be able to do this work, to make sure I understand that right to the chair.
Through the chair to Councilman Starr, this is a specific grant based on violence prevention community-based strategies, which does not include specifically giving dollars to additional outreach. What it includes is dollars to build a network. We've done that. It includes dollars to do training. We've done that. It includes dollars to support staff that will work specifically on it. We've done that. And what's coming next is the blueprint, and then the additional strategies that our residents recommend that we will do with the dollars.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilman Starr. Seeing no other questions, ordinance number 1326-2024 stands approved. Thank you. All right, next up for finance is ordinance number 1334-2024 by Councilmember Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance to make additional appropriations of $5 million to the general fund, $150,000 to the internal service fund, and $220,000 to the small enterprise fund. Director? Would you like to explain?
Yeah, through the chair to the committee, this is the annual supplement to the budget in the amount of $5,370,000. You should have a booklet in front of you. If you look at page 7 and 8 of the booklet labeled transfer ordinance and supplemental ordinance, that will show you the breakdown. On page 8 are the kind of high-level allocations. So out of that $5,370,000, we've got 2.9 for demolition, 2.1 in ARPA revenue recovery funds for the Back to Basics program, with 500,000 of that going to playgrounds, and the remaining 1.6 to tennis courts. There's also a $200,000 management fee related to the West Side Market, and also additional charges in utilities and waste collection to be covered by this supplement.
All right. So first of all, these are recommended supplemental requests. Recommended.
Through the chair, yes.
Which means that there's, because I want to make sure that I'm clear that you guys will still have to work with us on expand regarding this, right?
Through the chair, yes.
Okay. So basically, this is just to move money to hold it until we, as a partnership, make determinations on how we're going to spend this, right? Mr. Gentile?
Through the chair, we're trying to get these in supplemental, so if there's an expense above 50,000 with these, we would have to come back for that contract.
So anything above 50,000 would have to come back in order for us to approve expand legislation.
Right. For anything over 50,000, we would have to come back to get the contract approved.
Okay. And then, just out of curiosity, West Side Market and the management fee, when are we expecting to wean ourselves off of all of that?
Through the chair, the council person, we had a couple bills that were outstanding, so there's around 20,000 that is outstanding in back bills when the city operated it, so we're going to catch that up and pay those. 200,000, we were just short on the management fee for this year. In the 2025 budget, we're budgeting the full amount. So when we bring that to council, that we shouldn't have supplementals going forward for West Side Market. It'll be in the actual operating budget as presented.
Okay, thank you. Those are the questions I have. Councilman McCormick or anybody else?
Thank you. I'm just following up on that. What is the management fee? What is that?
Through the chair, the council person, that's the management fee from the operator. So we have somebody operating the company that's
No.
operating.
I'm well aware of that. I'm confused about what the management fee is.
It's just part of their operating cost. So they get a fee to actually run the market now because we have no employees there.
Is this a part of the temporary subsidy that we put in, or?
Through the chair, this is part of the contract that we passed with them.
Yeah.
We're just short 200,000 to meet our
Okay.
obligation this year to have them manage the whole market.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you. Councilman Casey?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I just kind of, you touched on it. The expenditures of the transfers too, these aren't etched in stone because council would have to help approve anything over 50,000, correct? All right. So my question is, Mr. Chairman, did the administration at all come to the leadership to ask for any recommendations on anything where the transfer orders should go to?
Not yet. Usually we have that conversation right about now, after this time. That's why I said that we, as a body, need to discuss that.
All right. Thank you.
Okay? But to Councilman Casey's point, this is not etched in stone. This is when we sit down and we negotiate where we think these dollars should best be allocated. Okay? Councilman Michael Polinsik. And then Councilman Anthony Hairston.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, to Mr. Gentile, and to those here at the table. One of the things that we repeatedly see in this document is savings due to vacancies, savings due to vacancies. So I'll state again my growing concern about critical vacancies, positions that are not being filled. And so we're going into next year with growing concerns about the delivery of services, and yet we see all these vacancies. So I'm hoping that we can get some better understanding come next year as to why we continue to have these vacancies is because the pay bands? What's the actual reason? You know, I understand the challenges we have in the division of police, but I look at some of these other departments and divisions, and I keep asking myself, why is it so difficult to fill these positions? And again, so I'm going to, whoever can explain that to us.
Yeah, through the chair to the councilman, this is something that's high on my priority list to look at this and understand why we have so many vacancies and what we can do about it.
Right.
So I think looking at it from an economic impact study sort of approach and trying to understand why those remain, I think is something important to look at and something I look forward to having conversations with the council about.
Well, okay, I mean, we had the similar concern going into this year that we raised during the budgetary time, and then there was that whole issue of the pool of employees, which hopefully going into next year, we're never going to see that again, that disaster. But so I have a specific one. The vision of police. Can you tell us today where we are with overtime uniform, please?
Mr. Gentile.
Through the chair of the councilperson, I think we're on to the transfer ordinance too.
Oh, I understand that.
I mean,
I'm very much aware of the transfer.
Okay.
I'd like to know where we are with police overtime as of today. Can somebody tell me that?
Do we have that count? Do we have that? Or do we
to the
need
chair, we'll get that to you and bring that. We'll have somebody bring that
Okay.
up to us.
So then in this transfer ordinance, because I see it says uniform overtime. So that is, you're transferring 1.2 million, correct? In police?
That's correct.
Okay. And then fire, division of fire, 3.9 million. In light of the fact that we are almost at full staff in fire, explain that one to me if you can. We're almost at full staffing levels in the division of fire.
Yeah, through the chair of the council person, through the fire contract, if we have holdover time, so if they're on a fire at the end,
Yeah.
sometimes there's holdover time. We have minimum staffing requirements, so sometimes if people call off, we have to
Okay.
backfill those with additional bodies because we have to have all the fire stations open. So the culmination of all that requires additional overtime.
And it was that much, 3.9 million.
Through the chair of the council person. Again, we're going to be looking at that.
Okay.
Because it is full staff, so that is a little bit high, and we're going to be really taking a good hard look at that going forward.
Okay.
Try to get a better handle on that.
And then on page 3, division of waste. Again, overtime, 2.1 million. Touch on that one.
Through the chair of the council person, they've been historically short-staffed with vacancies. They've staffed up quite a bit this year, but in the beginning of the year, they were short a lot of waste collectors. So to make sure that trash is picked up in a timely
Yes.
manner, a lot of those staff a lot of those drivers and waste collectors had to pick up additional shifts. So they'd be out kind of late, so that kind of caused overtime in that area.
Okay. So again, touches on the vacancies. Again, there's growing concern about vacancies, and we're looking at having to utilize and move it in the transfer ordinance to cover overtime. The touch on the Department of Building and Housing, a moment. So you took out 1.7 million?
Through the chair of the council person, at the beginning of last year, we added a lot of vacancy. We had a lot of additional heads to building and house, and they weren't able to fully staff up.
Yes.
We're adding, I think in this coming up budget, we're adding some additional people as well. The intention is for building house and the staff all the way up to implement the new programs that council approved last year. But during this year, they did not staff all the way up to capacity.
Okay. Then, Mr. Chairman, on page 5, touch on Division of Public Power. Well, in fact, let's move up to the top. Division of Streets, touch on that one.
To the chair, the councilperson, there was a lot of programs put in place in streets this year that wasn't there before, like the speed tables.
Okay.
Streets was doing a lot of that work. They're actually taking over more of the resurfacing versus farming it out through MOCAP, so that their actual employees are doing a lot more work on street resurfacing. That's why they have a higher, that's why they needed an in for the payroll and other related benefits.
Okay. And then touch on Cleveland Public Power.
Through the chair of the councilperson, we had several major storms, which caused a lot of overtime, a lot of down power lines in the city. So they they need some additional budget and above the line to fund those the reactions to those storms.
Okay. Then I'll leave it at this point. It ties into what we've all been talking about at this table going into next year. I hope the administration is going to really look at where we need to significantly and make a concerted effort to ramp up and fill vacancies. I'm concerned about building and housing, Mr. Chairman. I'm concerned about, obviously, the police department speaks for itself, but other critical divisions and sections. I'm greatly concerned about the delivery of services, what I want to call quality of life issues going into next year. So I want to continue to stress that to the administration. I mean, if you were in the room this morning, you guys were able to find money for Gateway, but critical services and programs and employment, filling vacancies, we still have these ongoing issues. And I think we've got to reset our priorities here. We've got to make sure our priorities are what I hear every day from our citizens about the delivery of basic city services. That's what, when people talk with their feet, it's services, we know it's schools, it's public safety, but it's, again, what I classify as quality of life. And we got to put that emphasis going into next year. So I'll leave it at that point. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I have Councilman Hairston. McCormick wants to be back on in this life.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of questions. On page 2, that's $600K for outside counsel and $400K for settlements. The $600K, is that for money that's already, with time already been requested by outside counsel? It's just paying a bill that we owe?
Where is that? Which one is that?
Through the chair of the council person, part of that is it's for labor negotiations and things that may have happened. Not all of it, but some of it is for bills that we have right now.
Okay. So can you get us a listing of all of the expenditures that make up part of the $600K and what it was for, whether it was for labor negotiations or whether it was for work that the law department asked an outside counsel office to give input, opinion, et cetera, and any of the settlements that were paid out that was a part of the $400K as well, okay?
Yeah, through the chair, yes.
Thank you. And then also on page 4 at the bottom, you need $1.2 million needed for age-friendly. That's for the 17 different senior repair work that happens in all 17 wards?
Through the chair of the council person, yeah, the aging was short that amount this year. So we told them that if we had it now, we would then fund it. So we did fund it in this transfer to make that fully funded.
Excellent, thank you. And then the $369,000 needed for homelessness project, what project is that? Is that the Every Home project?
To the chair, to the council person, I think council approved up to $2 million for the homelessness project, and I believe that's the one. We didn't have all the funding at the time. This amount would get it up to the $2 million. So again, we decided that we would try to fund that right now to get it up to the legislatively allowed $2 million.
Okay, so that's not in addition, that's part of that overall $2 million?
Yeah, to the chair of the council person, this will get it up to the $2 million in total.
Okay, got it, thank you. And lastly, through the chair to the finance department, page 7 and 8, the $5 million that has been transferred, $2.9 million for demolition, $2.1 million ARPA revenue recovery going into back to basics ARPA projects. So this is additional $2.9 million for demolition? The general fund?
To the chair of the council person, yes, demolition's been moving along very well. They're becoming somewhat short in demolition funds right now. They've pretty much extinguished most of their ARPA money and their general fund money, so they've been doing a lot of work in building housing. They did ask for $5 million, but we could not fund a full $5 million right now. We decided to try to fund the 2.9 to keep that program moving, the demo program.
Okay. Through the chair, I'm curious because we received between a joint request from the city and the county land bank received several millions of dollars for demolition of hundreds of homes. And there's also demolition money still remaining in the account for the Department of Building and Housing has not been expended yet. So I don't know why we're transferring $2.9 million at this moment over for additional demolition. Or have they identified, the parcels and projects that this demolition, this $2.9 million is going to be used for?
Through the chair of the council person, we'll have to try to get a list from them. I'm not positive on this, but I did look at the demo, and I'm not sure what parcels they've been demoing this year, but they are running low on demo money, or they're getting low in total. We did look at that.
Sure, I get that. And one of the reasons for seeking the grant dollars, so that way we didn't have to continue to use our own money for demolition. And there is millions and millions of dollars that have been, again, allocated in the initial round, now a second round. Hopefully, we'll be able to go out for an additional round after these first two for additional dollars. So I'm curious, and so I'm clear, Mr. Chair, into our law department, this $2.9 million and this $2.1 million will come back to council for further legislative approval for it to be expended, right?
To the chair of the council person, any contract that's going to be over $50,000 done out of any of these, we'll have to come back to council to get the contract approved.
Gotcha. Now, through the chair, lastly, I know that demolition has the ability to demo things using forthwith, which does not require them to come back to us. Now, how does that work? You can demo without, you can bypass certain approvals you need to demo properties that are that they deem, forthwith, right? However, the money itself, how do we do that? Because the money needs to come back for approval, but you could demo the property if it's a forthwith.
Through the chair of the council person, if it's public health and safety, they can always demo a building. And then if it's over 50, I think they come back to council just to get it approved after the fact. But if it's public health and safety, so if there's
so they come after the fact.
Fire or whatever, and it's dangerous for the citizens, they have the authority, standing authority to do that. But they have to prove it's public health and safety.
Okay. Well, through the chair, this $2.9 million, I want to know what they are seeking to use this money for. They have money left. They've received money from, we have money to work with the land bank, the ODOD, to do demolition work. I don't understand why we're transferring another $2.9 million into this fund for demolition at this moment. It just seems it is unnecessary and is not needed right now. Not saying that it may be needed down the line, depending on what the other money we receive will allow us. But just doing this $2.9 million, I think, is not the use. There's a better use for this $2.9 million at the moment. Now, this $2.1 million ARPA revenue recovery, what's that?
So through the chair to the councilman, these were extra funds from interest and income tax for revenue recovery. The Back to Basics program, $500,000 of that will be used for playgrounds. 1.6 million of it for tennis courts.
What was the last part?
1.6 million for tennis courts.
For tennis courts, okay.
For tennis courts.
Okay, got it. And that the projects for each of those will come back to this body for approval, correct?
Yes, through the chair, just to reiterate, anything over $50,000 will come back to the council.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. Councilman McCormick and then Councilman Slight.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I just have a high-level issue here, or question here. The 18,272, is that representative of not excluding enterprise funds? Is that representative of all the unencumbered cash at the city right now? Sorry. I'm on just page 5, the total 18,272. Page 5 of transfer, or
To the chair, of the council person, yeah, this is funds that were currently budgeted in the general fund, so it has nothing to do with the beginning balance or the ending balance, the unencumbered cash.
okay, so those dollars, those ending balance dollars that are not encumbered will show up in a different format.
Through the chair, of the council person, because we're not appropriating any more of those, besides the $5 million in the supplemental, yeah, they won't show up in here. The ending balance won't show up in here.
Okay, so but again, what is our current unencumbered cash on hand as a city?
Through the chair, of the council person, we're projecting to end right around where we began, which is right now 46 million.
Okay. And this does not impact that 46 million?
Through the chair, of the council person, no, this is just taking things that were appropriated. and
Already
replacing.
appropriated and moving them?
Yes.
All right, thank you, Chair.
All right, thank you. Councilman Charles Life.
Thank you. You know, we talk a lot about police overtime, but it's not one-to-one, but this kind of bears out that our vacancies in police are kind of level out the budgetary impact of our police overtime. I think that we should acknowledge that this is not making it easier for the men and women on the Division of Police to only look at it from a budgetary standpoint to have mandated overtime in order to get our needs done. But since we talk about it less, I'd like to ask about the $3.9 million in uniformed overtime for the Division of Fire. That's about 1/3 of the entire transfer, and that seems, and unlike the Division of Police, we have not been hearing of staffing issues in the Division of Fire. So is anyone able to speak to that overtime number?
To the chair, of the council person, again, if they have carryover time, so if they're on calls, there's mandatory time that we have to pay them if they're held over. Again, a lot of times if the firemen are sick and we have to backfill positions to keep stations open, that's kind of where this came from. Again, we're going to have to get a better handle this year because they are pretty much fully staffed. So we're looking into this going forward. When we have been looking, we meet with fire, police, and EMS every 2 weeks to talk about overtime. We're going to probably have to have some more stern conversations when we meet with them starting next year on this because they are fully staffed. But contractually, if we hold them over, we have to pay them a minimum amount of hours. If people call off sick, we have to have minimum staffing in all these stations to run these fire engines. So that kind of culminated in this transfer ordinance.
Sure, and I ask because as I start to do some rough math, looking at the temporary ordinance for next year and making sure if we need to be a little more thoughtful on what we are budgeting for the budgeting within fire so that we're not ending up with a $4 million overrun of the budget. The other point that I have is, and this is really to our new finance director, welcome. I've been doing something in this building since, I guess, 2012. And since that time, really, and so when the city of Detroit declared bankruptcy, people started reaching out to Cleveland asking when we were going to declare bankruptcy, and we weren't at risk of that. But the truth was we weren't at risk of that because we had made a lot of hard decisions about balancing the budget by not filling positions. And we are over a decade beyond that conversation, but it still seems to be that the MO of Cleveland City Hall feels like there's an effort to not fill positions because if we were to fill those positions, we would not be able to have money at this conversation at the end of the year. And I just point out that 36% of the transfer ordinance are unfilled positions out of the vacancy pool and the Department of Building and Housing. And I guess I just ask, and maybe it's an impossible question to ask, but what conversation would we be having right now if those positions had actually been filled as we understood that there would be an effort to do in April? and we would not have those vacant positions and their value in order to address overtime, as Mr. Gentile explained, or lawsuits, and I just worry to our new CFO that it's a little misleading every year when we come to budget to talk about we're going to hire all these positions and get the workforce we need to provide the level of services so we don't have minor league services, to Councilman Pelezik's point. But every December, we see this monetary incentive to do exactly the opposite so that we can essentially pay our bills. I'm hopeful that we can have deeper conversations about this going forward, but I just think it's worth pointing out that we would probably be in quite the situation if we had actually filled these positions, because we wouldn't have millions upon millions of dollars to pay for unexpected expenses.
Yeah, through the chair to the council member, I look forward to that dialogue. I think there's an opportunity here with the new finance director to take a fresh look at how we do things. Like I said, it is a priority for me to look at why we have these open positions. And, I think I can provide, and the administration can provide, a fresh perspective on that. And I think it's important to identify that issue first and then figure out how we can fix that, how we can get people in those positions, fill them, and have a productive, downtown and productive Cleveland. So I would invite that dialogue. I would welcome it. And, I think this is a fresh opportunity to take a new look at how we're doing things and why things are the way they are and what we could be doing better.
Thank you. And my recommendation, and through the chair, and kind of a repeated request I've had, is I still don't feel that we have any sort of what I call the aspirational budget. So it's leaf pickup season. Most of the city doesn't get leaf pickup. If it were our goal to have leaf pickup across the entirety of the city of Cleveland delivered in a 4-week span, we have no idea how much that would cost. We've never been told that number. We've really only been told, given the resources we have, this is the level of service we're able to provide. And we have had some conversations, which I disagreed with, of trying to, quote unquote, right-size the budget and right-size staffing, which I thought were, as it related to the Division of Police, not having the deeper conversation about what police do we need. If money were an object, what would we want to put into every single department? What are we striving to actually accomplish? We're just stuck in this austerity mode and saying, and directors come into the table saying, this is what I can do with what can be allotted to me. And I think if we're not having a deeper conversation about what level of resources we actually would need, then we're just kind of continually treading water, and we're not able to move towards any goal, and to understand, as new revenues hopefully come in, how do we want to strategically allocate new revenues to be able to provide more comprehensive and better city services. We just haven't had that conversation. We're just trying to stay above water. So I think that having what I call the aspirational budget would be a useful tool and guide to understand and kind of peg our progress against ourselves. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Kevin Bishop.
Thank you, Mr. President. President, I think I might have missed something. On the page 7 and 8, on the transfers to other sub-funds of $5 million, 2.1 million ARPA recovery going back to basics. So why are we using the supplemental for that instead of bond dollars?
Through the chair, the council person, CD was supposed to spend 2.1 million in true ARPA. That was on their list. That was supposed to happen for lead programs. They notified us about a month or so ago that they weren't going to be able to get that under contract by the end of this year. And if it's not under contract by the end of this year under the ARPA guidelines, it would have to be returned to the feds. So this was the 2.1 million. I think there were some emails that was going around. So we recovered that back to the general fund, and now we're asking to program it back to basics.
Back to basics. Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, and that's a great question, Councilman, because that's where I was trying to go with this. We got to pull that 2.1 from somewhere. So that's the magic. That's the, I don't like to say magic bullet, but that's pretty much what everybody's trying to get to. That 2.1 was done under the old ARPA rules. When we first allocated 17 million, they said they couldn't spend it all, so 2.1 of that they wanted to put back into the general fund, which gives us shelter for those dollars, and we don't have to send them back. Because under the old ARPA rules, we had to allocate money by December 2024, and it has to be spent by 2026. So in essence, some of this is about making sure that all of that money is sheltered where we don't have to send any money back to DC. Is that correct?
Right, to the chairman, yes. Now, all the money, that was the last piece that was not obligated in a contract,
Okay.
which is required under the federal guidelines. Once we were notified that they were not going to get that under contract, we swiftly moved, calculated lost revenue for last year, and we're able to recover it, and then now we're asking to program it. But we will not return any federal money.
That's
because
the
it's all
point.
it's all obligated, the whole 511 million.
So that's because I was pushing my team last week to make sure that anything that needed to be obligated would be on the agenda today.
Right.
Okay? All right. Councilman McCormick on that point.
I'm so sorry, Mr. Chairman. I just want to congratulate the finance team for that. That's over $500 million.
111 million.
As well as this council, but I want to give you guys a shout out. That is a big lift to ensure every penny is protected. So I
Right.
just want to give you all a shout out for that.
Huge. And this is a major piece, and I'm glad you clarified that because people were concerned and everybody was asking questions, why aren't we using bond money? But this money has to be allocated anyway. So that gives us more flexibility. Okay?
Council President, point of information.
Point of information for Councilwoman House.
Yes, through the chair to the finance team. Where is that in this ordinance? Is it, what page is that on? Am I missing?
To the chair, the councilperson, it's on page number 8.
Page number 8, okay, thank you.
Councilman Kevin Conwell.
I just wanted a point of information. I was thinking back with Councilmember Mike Polensek was asking you a question, Mr. Controller, Gentile. Let's say, for example, it's about vacancies. And I was also listening to Councilmember Slife talk about vacancies as well. So here's the question. So if you say you're going to put 5 people on staff, you only put 3. So we take the dollars that we were going to hire 2 other people and we transfer it for wherever we need the money to go, right? Through the chair.
Yeah, through the chair, correct.
So in that same budget, what I'm just wondering, you have attrition that's going on all the time, back end money. So what do you do with that? Through the chair to the controller, and that's only the point.
Yeah, through the chair, if the position's not backfilled, I mean, that will become vacancy dollars.
Right.
If they already have it budgeted, they should backfill those positions. But then if they don't, it will be part of the vacancy dollars that's left.
So you might be filling some of the positions, but through attrition, it looks like you're not filling it because attrition is ongoing anyway. Somebody could have passed away, someone separation, left that position. So why don't you guys explain that? Because see, what I'm thinking, I had to think about it, that you're just not filling vacancies, but attrition also can contribute to what we're looking at. Is that true through the chair?
Yeah, through the chair to the council person, we have as many people leave every year as we hire. So we're hiring people all the time, but we have a lot of people attriting, whether they're retiring. We have probably a more aged workforce across the board, especially in safety. So a lot of safety people are retiring. A lot of other people are retiring. So we lose, I would say we just lose more people than we hire. We have lost more people than we've hired over the last several years, whether it's safety or non-safety.
You made me look at that. So do me a favor, but I know you guys won't do it, but you know how to do it because you understand accounting. You could footnote the attrition when the mayor does his transmittal. You could footnote that and say we lost to attrition. We planned to hire 10, however, we lost to attrition 3. Therefore, we got these many people because of vacancies. And then you won't have to ask that question. And no one ever told me that. I had to sit back and think about it when Councilmember Slife and Councilmember Mike Polensek asked you the question through the chair to the, and we footnote nothing. You don't footnote training dollars, because the majority of it's the cost of labor, and you just don't footnote it through the chair to the controller.
Through the chair to the council member, we actually do look at that every pay. We look at safety, non-safety,
Yep.
general fund, non-general fund. So we run a report out of ADP through the controller's office that monitors how many people we're attriting, how many people we're hiring. So we do try to keep a firm look at that and we are trying to turn the tide. HR and civil service are doing a lot of things to try to fill these vacancies, and hopefully we turn the corner soon on this. I know we haven't done it yet, but we're looking to turn the corner very soon to be able to fill these vacancies and make some headway in this area.
You kind of know in the third quarter where you're at. In the third quarter around September, you kind of know where you're at, but you won't footnote it to let us know. So that's on you. That's on you, really. I would.
Through the chair to the councilman, and anytime you need information, let us know. I'll be happy to get you whatever numbers you need.
But you got to let people know ahead of
Sure.
time, so
Yeah,
therefore we don't have to ask you the same question over and over again. I mean, if I have a question, you know what I do? I got to tell you. He'll tell you I stop by unannounced.
Sure. Yes.
Sometimes I don't do it at the table. I'll say, you know what, Mr. Gentile, this is going on. This is what I see, don't I? I just stop by and ask you the question, but you gotta let people know, man. You gotta do that. We do that as council members. We try to let our residents know so that they won't blame us, because they blame us. We get blamed for everything that you guys don't do. And that's all I needed. You had a question? A statement?
Through the chair to the councilman, just appreciate the feedback. So, we're all about transparency and looking at what makes up the numbers. And that is something, I know maybe you feel like in the past you haven't been heard, but that's something that we'll look at. And, I'm very open, and my group is very open to changing things for the sake of transparency and information. So, again, just look forward to the dialogues and how we can do things better, and appreciate the suggestion, and we will take a look at that.
Well, you know what? It's only 4 things to make the budget up. Equipment, supplies, cost of labor, which is people, and you have money. Those 4 things to make that budget up. And he could footnote it. And you knew, but they just don't do it. That's all. That's where I'm at. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'm going to read both of these into, because they're companion pieces, and we actually went through both ordinances. I've read 1334-2024, but I want to read ordinance number 1336-2024 into the record by Councilmember Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance to provide for the transfer and amendment to the general fund appropriations in the amount of $11,927,000, $3,415,000 within the special revenue fund, $2,700,000 within the major enterprise fund, $75,000 within the small enterprise fund, and $155,000 within the internal service fund. We just went over this booklet, so these 2 companion pieces are attached to the transfer ordinance that we got for fiscal year 2024. Seeing no other questions, ordinance number 1334 and 1336-2024 stand approved. Please sign on. One more piece for finance. Hold on. There you go. Here you go. All right, this ordinance is ordinance number 1335-2026 by Councilmember Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance to make temporary appropriations for the current payrolls and other ordinary expenses for the city of Cleveland from the period from January 1, 2025 until the effective date of the annual appropriation ordinance for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2025. This is our traditional temporary ordinance. Director, did you want to explain?
Yeah, through the chair to the committee, you should have the temporary budget book in front of you. If you'll turn to page 1, that would give you some transparency and high-level points as to how we came to this budget. So as the chairman read, this is to cover 3 months of the budget, 2025, until the actual budget is passed sometime in the following month. So the way that we budget for this, you can kind of read, we build in 7 of the 26 payroll cycles for next year, so about 25%. Longevity, we actually budget 100% because the payout, all of the payouts are done on March 31st. So, we time the budgeting for when the payment is actually made. Separation, 25%. As you would expect, 3 months out of the year is 25%. Same thing with our benefits and with the pension costs. Looking at FICA and Medicare, we also budget 3 months of payments there. And workers' comp does not get paid until May, so we do not add that into the temporary budget. That will show up in the full budget. Unemployment compensation, 40%. This gives us a little bit of flexibility in case claims are a little bit higher than what we're predicting, since there is, projections involved in this number. Clothing and allowance. This occurs in March, so this is another one that we budget 100%. Then we have the other expenses, or the below-the-line expenses. So 40% is the default on these for contractual materials and supplies. Some adjustments were made for divisions who require full certification of major contracts in the first quarter to account for that and more realistically budget. So with that, happy to take any questions.
Okay. This is, once again, the temporary ordinance that goes from January to April. Just out of curiosity, why did you put it all the way till the 31st? Is it that's just the legal way of setting it up? So you don't put April 1st or March 31st?
Through the chair of the councilperson, it has to be passed by April 1st, so this temporary can only go to March 31.
Okay. All right. Any questions regarding ordinance number 1335-2024? Seeing no questions, ordinance number 1335. Councilwoman House Jones.
Thank you. So in here, how are we accounting for paid paternal leave?
Paid maternal leave.
Through the chair to the councilperson, that would go in full-time permanent. So if someone's on paid parental leave, they would get their full-time permanent. They would be paid through full-time permanent. So that's just baked into that personnel and other expenses here.
Do we have through the chair to the finance team, do we have the record of what it has been thus far here in 2024?
Through the chair, the councilperson, not with us, but we can definitely get you the total because there's a pay code.
Yeah, because we were supposed to have a report that we didn't get a report. It was
Okay, so I will write that down and I will get with the right people to provide a report.
right. And
Yep.
can you, through the chair to the team, can you explicitly share which departments and making sure it's disaggregated based on gender and departments and the duration?
Through the chair, the councilperson, yes, we'll
Thank
get
you.
that to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no other questions, ordinance number
Where's the CPC?
CPC, Cleveland Community Policing Commission.
It should be separate.
Page 4.
Yeah, page 4.
And that's for, Mr. Chairman, that's for, just for 3 months.
Yeah. Through the chair, the councilperson, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, this is.
So for
3
the
months.
viewing public, everything that's in here is just for 3. I want to reiterate that to the viewing public. This is all for 3 months, everything that's here.
Yes, through the chair, the councilperson, this is just through January through the end of March, 3 months.
Thank you
Next
very
year.
much.
Thank you. Seeing no other questions, ordinance number 1335-2024 stands approved. Please sign on. Thank you. Economic development. First one is ordinance number 1009-2024, as amended by council members Bishop, Polinsik, Hairston, and Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance authorizing the directors of economic development and/or building and housing to apply for and accept a brownfields remediation program grant from the Ohio Department of Development, demolition, asbestos and waste removal, site remediation, and other necessary services needed for the future redevelopment of the former National Acme site located at 170 and 221 East 130th Street, and authorizing the director to enter into one or more contracts with the Cuyahoga County Land Reutilization Corp. To manage the implementation grant. Director.
Thank you, Council President.
Oh, let me read the amendment. I
Oh, yes, sir.
apologize. There is no legal objection to this legislation if amended as follows. 1, in the title, line 6, after development, insert, or its successor or designee for, is dated 09/26/24 by Kevin Roberts, Chief Assistant Director of Law.
Thank you, Council President, members of council. I believe many of you are familiar with this one. This is for the National Acme site in North Collinwood, long since one of the city's worst brownfields. This is an ordinance that will allow us to accept $7,628,055 from the state of Ohio through the Ohio Brownfield Remediation Program. We're very fortunate to have been awarded by that money. I think also want to make clear to everyone, boy, that may be the single greatest program that the state of Ohio has ever administered. To date, there are 24 projects that the city of Cleveland has either been awarded funding for or are currently being cured, totaling $83.3 million in funding. Those are all going into brownfields in the city of Cleveland, helping to bring them back to life. We had taken this to the DPS committee with Councilman Harrison. I think one of the issues that we had in there was a $5 million that the city committed for demolition and remediation at the site, of which $2.5 million plus was to be used for the city's local match on that. 3.5, now the $5 million was set up because at the time we did not know whether or not we were going to receive this funding. $3.5 million had been sent over to the Cuyahoga County Land Reutilization Corp. That is there today. So we do have updated estimates back from the groups at the Site Readiness Fund and the Cuyahoga County Land Reutilization Corp. are working with on here. Costs are higher than anticipated than when we initially submitted the application. Total remediation costs are now set at $11,043,642, which would only leave an $84,414 surplus, which is only a 0.7% contingency. So again, this is a conversation we've been having with Councilman Harrison over the past few days, but would ask that we can move forward and accept these funds and move forward from one of the worst brownfields in the city of Cleveland.
Thank you. Councilman Hairston.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a piece I actually supported to be relieved. Fully supportive of this remediation of the National Acme site has been a long time coming. You had some folks that were doing some very bad things in this property, stuffed this building with all types of contaminated materials. And, you know, the work had begun under previous administrations to begin to really remediate this property. It continued into this current administration, and we're thankful for their support to move this along. Councilman Polinsik, I'm sure, is going to chime in and share his thoughts and his opinions as well. But this is a win for the entire northeast side. This is a massive project. If you never driven down behind Taft and 131st, I mean, this thing is a mess, and it's a real monster. And also down Kirby and Hazeldale as well. And so very supportive of this. Yes, we did work through why the differences in numbers. The Land Bank has sent over an updated copy of the numbers, and we're fully supportive of this piece. And Mr. Chair, just ask our colleagues for support. Thank you.
Thank you. And I believe this borders or is very close to Councilman Polinsik.
It's in my ward.
Yeah, part
Councilman
part is in 8 and part is in 10. Yep.
Yeah.
Say that again?
Yes, a majority is in 8, and then a part that sits in 10 as well.
Okay, Councilman Michael Valencia.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, my colleagues, and to the director. I want to appreciate the director, not only him, but the previous folks as well who were involved in this discussion with the last redistricting, again, which was over 10 years ago. I inherited this wonderful site as a result of the redistricting. And Mr. Chairman, as Councilman Harrison indicated, it's one of the largest environmental brownfields in the city of Cleveland, maybe the largest. And it's been sitting there forever as a reminder of disinvestment in the East Glenville neighborhood. That's where it sits, in the East Glenville neighborhood, in Eddy Road Industrial Park area. So I just want to clarify. So the total estimated demolition amount now is what, 11?
Through the chair to Councilman Polensek, it is $11,043,642. And I do have an updated sheet here if you'd like to see it.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I think that that number speaks for itself as it pertains to the, how large the site is, and I wholeheartedly support it, and cannot wait to see the remediation and the demolition. This was once the largest employer in the Glenville neighborhood.
Wow.
The largest employer in Glenville neighborhood. So hopefully, once the site is cleared, we can seek job opportunities there once again. And the only thing I would ask is that my name is misspelled, so I would hope that that would be corrected. Okay. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilwoman Gray.
Thank you. I was reading over the ordinance, and I just want to know where on East 130th Street that is also going to help with the future development. Is that East 130th Street? In what area of East 130th?
Could you give the Councilwoman the borders?
I'll give you the
She
borders.
has a part of East 130th. I know this is not
It's,
close to.
no, East 131st at Quaid Road and Kirby, northeast
Okay,
side.
it's not on.
Right.
Okay, it's not
East
on
of Eddy Road.
Okay, it just has East 130th Street.
No,
I'm
it's
just
over in
wondering.
the Eddy Road and Quaid Road area.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Just
All
wanted
right,
to share.
seeing no other questions, ordinance number 1009-2024 as amended stands approved. Next up is ordinance number 1243-2024 by council members Harrison and Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance approving the Tax Incentive Review Council's year 2023 recommendations. Director and Mr. Myron.
Thank you, Council President, members of council. I'm also joined here by Byron Demery, the fiscal manager for our department. And we are here today asking for approval of the City of Cleveland's Tax Incentive Review Council, which is actually a county body. Councilman Harrison now sits on that group that reviews the tax incentives that we give every year. And so with that, we first look at the commercial enterprise zone tax abatement projects we have. There were 10 contracts that were reviewed. There were 6 of them that were in total compliance in their job thresholds, 3 that were not in compliance but were extraordinarily close, and 1 agreement that was not in compliance recommended to terminate. That is the former LaSalle Theater in North Collinwood. The total property value investments in that is $70.4 million. Through these programs, 520 jobs were retained, another 528 were created, and the total payroll at these sites is over $58 million, which equates to $1,452,871 in additional income taxes for the city of Cleveland. I would also note in here in your packet, we do have the full list of TIF, tax increment financing projects. There were 58 total TIFs in the city of Cleveland last year. We received a little north of $12.3 million of payments in lieu and taxes that came into the city. Of that portion, $3,200,600.98. That is the portion of taxes the city of Cleveland forgone, right, to help move all those 58 projects forward. Also important to note, and I don't think it's mentioned often enough, if you look at that, the Cleveland Metropolitan School District received over $18 million last year on projects that were able to move forward because of those TIFs.
Councilman Hairston.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to note that the committee, for those that were, as the director mentioned, that were close, the committee gave discretion to continue those if you were a few numbers off. And those that were not recommended to continue were a significant ways away of meeting their obligations. I will tell you that the department and others have worked diligently with each of these individuals to find ways to get their numbers up to ensure that they can continue, and make good on the obligation that they initially set out to do. So ask the committee for support. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Seeing no other questions, ordinance number 1243-2024 stands approved. Please sign on. All right, last finance piece. 1239-2024 by Council Members McCormick, Hairston, and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance to amend the title and section 1 of ordinance number 978-2022 passed October 3rd, 2022, relating to the UDAG grant agreement contract with Team NEO and/or its designee to provide economic development assistance to induce Aer Lingus to start and maintain daily direct flight service from Cleveland to the Republic of Ireland. Director and Chief Teeuwen.
Thank you, Council President. I'm joined here by Chief Teeuwen. This is a very important amendment to an existing ordinance, right? So it was Ordinance 978-2022 that put a $600,000 essentially guaranteed backstop to enable that direct service flight to Dublin, Ireland, which has been a tremendous success for our region. Essentially what this is doing, it is no more money. It is still the same $600,000 that was already allocated. We are extending that agreement by 1 year. In exchange for that, what we are getting is 180, we're currently at 184 individual flights on an annual basis. It's about 4 times a week. That is going to go to a minimum of 204 flights on an annual basis. So we're going to increase those flights and they'll stagger it so we actually increase frequency at different types of year. So July through August, it's anticipated there'll be 6 flights a week, right? So almost daily service to and from Dublin, which again, important things here, no additional money that is out there. Again, this is a guaranteed backstop in case of loss of dollars. Anything else, Chief, to you?
Perfect.
Okay.
So this has been a very good success. I know that Councilman McCormick relieved it as well as DP&S. Do you have any comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I fully support this piece. Again, the extension, more days, no new money. It seems like a win-win-win. Critical connector from Cleveland to Europe. And I will just say I'm very happy about the extension of days. I've heard anecdotally from multiple people, and I actually looked for myself too, that would have taken the flight, but it just wasn't on the day that they needed to travel. So I've heard just from a handful of people I've talked to, so who knows how much larger that challenge is. So I really hope that by opening it up to additional days, we will see more traffic of folks that are selecting this flight, not just to fly to Ireland, but to go from Northeast Ohio to Europe as a connector. So again, Chair, this through transportation mobility, we relieve this piece. Again, fully support it, given it that it's extending a year, more service days, and no new money. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councilman Hairston and Councilman Casey. Thank you, Councilman Brian Casey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, to the Director, this is general fund dollars, not enterprise fund dollars?
So through the Chairman, Councilman Casey, these are actually Urban Development Action Grant dollars, so not general fund. These are departmental funds.
Okay. And then does this go directly to Aer Lingus? And this has already been, from the Chair to the Director, this has already been allocated, right? Like 2 years ago or something like that?
So through the Chair to Councilman Casey, yes, this was already allocated 2 years ago. The contract is directly with Team NEO. That was done for a handful of reasons. Aer Lingus does share their flight data with Team NEO. That is proprietary. They don't want that out in the public, so that is kind of the intermediary that we use.
Okay, so we haven't released the funds yet? We're just kind of, are we just extending the holding of the funds, and then when do we release the funds, or how do they get their money?
Through the chair to the councilman, the numbers have been released to Team NEO for review. They're reviewing those numbers, and they have a request in for the first year quote unquote deficit that they thought were an appropriate request. And Team NEO is still reviewing that for accuracy.
So, Mr. Chairman, to the chief, do they only get the money if they hit milestones? Or if they don't hit milestones, do we cover whatever it is that they were supposed to hit?
Through the chair to the councilman, the latter of the two.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Mike Valencia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, to the chief and to the director. My only question was, why wouldn't we use enterprise funds for that? Explain that.
We do not use enterprise funds. In fact, we're not allowed to use enterprise funds. Our enterprise funds for the airport are distributed or agreed to and distributed by all the airlines.
Okay.
So they would obviously have a problem if we're incentivizing another airline to come and provide service. So it's more appropriate, and this is common in the airport industry, that they're economic development dollars.
So even though we're increasing traffic and participation by folks flying, because my son flew it, and he thought it was a very good flight. I just thought, again, so these are general fund dollars.
Through the chair to the Councilman Polensek, no, these are Urban Development Action Grant dollars, right? So they're Economic Development Departmental funds.
So they're federal dollars passed through us? Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to understand better. So it's not coming out directly out of your operating?
No, this is the kind of revolving loan pool dollars that we have.
I got you. Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Seeing no other questions. Oh, sorry, Councilman Brian Casey.
Just to follow up on my own last question, Mr. Chairman, to the chief or the director. So if Aer Lingus continues, or if they meet their goals or their objectives, is there a possibility that we'd never have to give them this money?
That's correct. This is just backstop money.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right, thank you. Seeing no other questions, ordinance number 1239-2024 stands approved. Please sign on. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you. All right, we're going to go to capital projects briefly. Capital projects. All right, first one is ordinance number 1145-2024 by Councilmembers Polensek, Griffin, by Polensek, Bishop, and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance giving consent of the City of Cleveland to the Director of Transportation of the State of Ohio for resurfacing a portion of Villaview Road, authorizing the Director of Capital Projects to employ one or more professional consultants to design the improvement, to apply for and accept many gifts or grants from any public or private entity, authorizing any relative agreements, and causing payment of the city's share to the state for the cost of the improvement. Director.
Mr. Chairman, so this is a project that's funded through NOACA for the resurfacing of Villaview Road. Much needed, has been in planning for quite some time. So this is our typical legislation that would allow for the use of the federal STBG funds as well as road and bridge bonds for the city's portion of the project. We do have one amendment to the legislation to fix a typo in the ordinance, which Mr. Sotowski will elaborate on.
Thank you. To the chair, it's in section 1 in the very next to last sentence. The limit of the project is East 162nd Street, not East 161st.
So we need to proffer an amendment for that?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to propose an amendment to ordinance number 1145-2024. And the second to last line of section 1, replace East 161 Street with East 162nd Street.
Thank you.
Does our assistant law director have that, Mary? All right.
Second is Councilman Casey. Any discussion? All in favor of the amendments?
Okay.
Say aye.
Aye.
All right. I believe there's a couple of, Councilman Bishop, this was, you relieved this?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we fully support this piece.
All right, thank you. Councilman Michael Polensek.
Mr. Chairman, I'm just trying to find, what's the eastern border of the project?
200th, through the chairman and the councilman,
Thank
200th.
you. Thank you. I want to thank, Mr. Chairman, I want to thank the director and his staff, Mr. Switolski, all involved. I've been trying to get this road fixed for 10 years, and I tell everybody if they have false teeth, make sure they're glued in if you're driving that road, because they're not going to stay in. So again, this is a project desperately needed, and the only thing I would else ask, and I say this in all due respect across the entire city, where we are resurfacing roads, I would hope that we would also consider on those roads that we're resurfacing where we can is to implement speed tables. That's something else I think we need to do at the same time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you so much. Seeing no other questions, ordinance number 1145-2024 stands approved. Please sign on. Next up is ordinance number 1238-2024 by council members Bishop and Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance to amend the title of ordinance number 643-2024 passed July 10th, 2024, and to supplement the ordinance by adding new sections 2A and 2B relating to designing and constructing, rehabilitating, renovating, replacing, or otherwise improving recreation facilities, ancillary recreation buildings, parks, playgrounds, and other similar structures on amenities on city-owned and city-leased properties, including site improvements and appurtenances. Director.
Mr. Chairman, so we are attempting something new, something innovative to allow us to do quicker projects with our Park and Rec funded or Park and Rec projects. We're taking a cue from what we do in engineering and construction, which is to have a requirements contract put into place for Park and Rec projects. So that means that it will have a 2-year term, but the funding will be added to it as funding is available. The base funding for this would be from the 2024 bond proceeds for Parks capital maintenance, which was $1 million. But anytime there's additional funding that comes through other bond sales, or if councilmen request a certain improvement at a park, we can add that work as you do when you ask for a certain street to be paved or a brick road to be restored. So essentially what would happen is we'll go out to bid, we'll put somebody under contract for a contract with a laundry list of items related to Park and Rec. The items include site furnishings, playground equipment, safety surfacing, recreational court color sealing, line striping, asphalt paving, concrete paving, lighting, signage, fences, plantings. And then as we issue a scope of work, the costs for those items are already laid out in the contract. So we then would issue a work order based upon the cost that's outlined in that contract. So we are seeking council authority to implement this new contracting technique, which we think will really help us be more nimble and allow us to go from funding into construction a lot quicker. So with that, I'll answer any questions.
Okay. So I always like innovation and I always like new, but I always like to understand what rules and how you guys going to be able to operate this whenever you're talking about being innovative. Is this almost like moving towards a 2-year budget, or I'm trying to understand how adding requirement contracts affects the current process? What is going to be the change? What help me understand that better?
Mr. Chairman, as far as our process goes or budgeting goes, it has no change at all. So typically we do design, then we bid it, then we build it. So we have $1 million in the 2024 bond sales for parks capital improvements. So that could be a new playground, it could be a new basketball hoop. And typically what we have to do is we have to then bid out that project. So if it's something that we intend to fix the safety surface under a playground, we have to take the time to bid it out, award that contract, and do the work. What this would allow us to do is exactly what we do in engineering and construction with the roadway contracts. If we need to put in a roadway, if we need to put in a curb, if we need to put in a sidewalk, we essentially fund that contract with the money that's allocated for that purpose. And it could be from the administration, from bond sales, it could be from a council member that wants to have a sidewalk replaced or a block of a sidewalk replaced. And it works well because you already have you bid it out, so it's fair and open bidding. You have the prices for each of these items identified in the contract, and it allows you to go from funding the project into the construction a lot quicker. So it's innovative in the sense that we have never done it for Parks and Rec, but we do it and have done it for years and years with engineering and construction on the roadway side.
Okay. All right, Councilman Bishop, this was relieved out of municipal services.
Mr. President, I guess I'm like, I have some of your concerns. I'm just trying to understand this piece of legislation, what's the purpose of it, and how you're saying that it will shorten the time it takes to construct the project. Is that what you're saying?
Through the chairman, the councilman. So every project that is funded does not have to be bid individually.
Right.
We bid this requirements contract, and requirements contracts can be two ways. They either have a duration or they have a dollar amount. And what we do with engineering and construction is we have 2-year durations for the contracts. And therefore, you can add money as you have money to add to the contract, or as a council member wants to do a project. But the contract itself expires in 2 years, and then you rebid it and you put a new contract in place. And of course, inflation kicks in and the prices, go up each time.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'm okay with moving this forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let me see. Seeing no other questions at this time, ordinance number 1238-2024 stands approved. I would encourage you to make sure that the chair really understands this process because he's sort of the resident expert on council regarding this.
Yes.
So it'd be imperative for you to help him understand all aspects of this change, okay?
Understood,
You
Chairman.
know what? A point. Yeah, you doing time management and you saving dollars. You guys are doing it on the inside.
Yeah.
Sitting back reading. That's why I wanted to get up closer to you. I know exactly what you're doing. You're saving money doing that.
I believe it's a good change, and I
controlling
think
its
that we can
cost.
work with it. But I just want to make sure you keep the council member that's on that committee, make sure that he's up to speed on all the nuances of this so that he can make sure this council stays abreast.
Understood, 100%.
Thank you. Next is seeing no other questions, ordinance number 1238-2024 stands approved. Please sign on. Next is ordinance number 1245-2024 as amended by council members Polinsik, Bishop, and Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance authorizing the director of capital projects to issue one or more permits to the Cuyahoga County Department of Public Works to encroach into the public rights-of-way of East 156th Street and Shore Acres Drive, installing, using, maintaining a 10-foot wide asphalt multi-purpose trail. Director?
Mr. Chairman, first I wanted to...
let me read the amendment. I apologize.
Yes.
The amendment states there is no legal objection to this legislation if amended as follows. 1, in Section 1, in the legal description, in the last course, which is numbered Course 9, strike Course 9 and insert Course 13. Date 11/26/24 by Kevin Roberts, Chief Assistant Director of Law.
Mr. Chairman, so I'll start out, but I do want to introduce to my left, this is Katie Moore, who's our Special Projects Manager in Capital Projects. This is indeed one of the special projects we've been working on for some time with the county. It's the Euclid Beach Connector Project, and this will connect from Euclid Beach Park down to Shore Acres with a bluff, a trail along the bluff of Lake Erie. And it's a project that will go into construction in the third quarter of 2025. And in order for the county to prepare for bidding the project, they need to secure certain property rights, which this ordinance authorizes us to grant property rights to Cuyahoga County for the trail, as well as for the, go ahead, you kick in, Katie, for the trail and.
Here, just hold it for a quick second. Boom. Don't press it, just boom. Here, let me get you together. That's one thing I know how to work in this joint is these mics.
That was a tricky one.
Okay. Yeah, there you go.
Over to you.
So,
Property rights.
yes, so this is granting the ability for them to install the trail within the public right-of-way. So it's about 200 linear feet on Shore Acres Drive and about 50 linear feet within East 156th.
And again, this is a project that is funded with, if council recalls, we passed an ordinance for ARPA funding that goes toward this project. So I believe there's $3 million of ARPA funding that goes towards this project. And with our funding, they were able to design and put out to bid, next year, the entire project instead of piecing it into 2 phases. And it's going to be a shoreline stabilization project as well as a trail to connect this section of Lake Erie to the residents.
All right, thank you. Councilman Bishop, this was relieved out of municipal services.
Yes, Mr. President, I fully support this piece of legislation.
Thank you. Councilman Polensek.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, my honorable colleagues. I wholeheartedly support the piece. I've been working on this a very long time. This will also provide public access for residents, a lot of low-income residents who live along the lakefront in the Euclid Beach high-rises to transverse along the lake to the west. It will also protect people who are losing their property, shoreline protection, erosion control. Just a wonderful project. I wholeheartedly support it, and the Shore Acres Association is in support of it as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This was also relieved by Development, Planning, and Sustainability. This does not have to go in front of Finance, so I would ask for the chairs of DPS and Municipal Services to sign on first, and then anybody who belongs to that committee, if they could sign on. Seeing no other questions, ordinance number 1245-2024, as amended, stands approved. All right, next one is 1246-2024 by council members McCormick, Bishop, and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Capital Projects to issue a permit to Fundamental Parking LLC to encroach into the public right-of-way of Scranton Road by installing, using, and maintaining the foundation and northern building wall of the Cleveland Clinic Global Peak Performance Center. Director.
Mr. Chairman, so this piece and the next one both relate to the Cleveland Clinic Global Peak Performance Center, which is the Phase 1 project for the Bedrock development along the riverfront.
Let me do this if I could, Director.
Yes.
Since both of them are companion pieces, let me read the other one into the record so that we could discuss it all at one time.
Yes, please.
Okay, so the next one is companion piece, ordinance number 1247-2024 by council members McCormick, Bishop, and Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Capital Projects to issue a permit to Huron Holdings LLC to encroach into the public right-of-way of Scranton Road by installing, using, and maintaining the foundation and southern building wall of the Cleveland Clinic Global Peak Performance Center. Director, on these two companion pieces.
Yes, sir. So as mentioned, this is the first building for the Bedrock development along the riverfront, and each side of the roadway is owned by a different corporate entity, but this is the same project, if you will, and in each ordinance relates to the foundation on either side of the roadway. The roadway is called Scranton Road. We typically would call it Eagle Avenue because Eagle Avenue was the bridge structure that was above Scranton. Scranton is the official name of the roadway that's at grade. And so these ordinances would give an encroachment permit to the entities that are related to Bedrock for the foundations that are needed for the Global Peak Performance Center. They are currently doing site work in the area. For an update for folks, they're grading the old right-of-way. They're starting to put in the foundation work through a street obstruction permit, and they expect for the building to be opened in February of 2027. So we can answer any questions and would appreciate the support for these two ordinances.
Thank you. Councilman Bishop, I know that these were relieved out of Municipal Services, and Councilman Hairston, they were relieved out of DPS. Do any of you have any comments?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Fully support this piece.
Councilman Hairston.
No further comments, Mr. Chair. Support.
Thank you. Councilman McCormick, this is in Ward 3.
So moved.
All right, seeing no other questions, ordinance number 1246 and 1247 stands approved. Please sign on. Thank you. And these are just like the other two. Because this is committee of the whole, it doesn't have to go to finance. It only has to go to DPS and municipal services. So if you're on those committees, please sign on. Thank you. All right, next, the last piece for Public Works, resolution number 1254-2024 by council members McCormick, Bishop, and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency resolution declaring the intent to vacate all of Joy Court and Day Alley. And once again, this is Committee of the Whole. Director, do you have any comments on this?
Mr. Chairman, so this is the first of 3 steps for a vacation process. It would start the vacation of Day Alley, which is parallel to Barber Avenue, and it would go from West 32nd Street past Joy Court, and Joy Court is just north of Barber Avenue from Barber to Day Alley. There is a residential development plan here for 140 new residential units. Vacating these 2 roadways would allow for consolidation of the site. Currently, these roadways are overgrown and not in use, and the neighbors and Councilman McCormick are in support of moving forward with the vacation.
All right, Municipal Services DPS, Councilman Hairston and Councilman Bishop.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I fully support this piece.
Councilman Hairston? All right, Councilman McCormick.
The director explained everything perfectly. Thank you, Chair.
Cool. Okay, seeing no other questions, resolution number 1254-2024 stands approved. Please sign on.
Mr. Chairman, just a point of information.
Point of information.
Did we pass that McDonald's piece? Did we not?
Not yet. It's still coming up under Public Works.
Under Public Works,
Yeah,
thank you.
It's coming up soon.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, I do have a brief walk-on before let me do Public Works and get that done, and then we'll do the walk-on piece, okay? All right. First one is ordinance number. This is Public Works. If Public Works can join us at the table. This is ordinance number 1215-2024 by council members Bishop and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Works to apply for and accept a Talent for Tomorrow Digital Equity Challenge Grant from the United States Conference of Mayors for the city's Rec in Tech initiative, and to apply for and accept grants from other entities for this purpose, to enter into various written standard purchase requirement and professional service contracts needed to implement the grant. Director.
Thank you, Chair. I actually have with me a few folks that can talk better to this piece. I have Chief Warnett, and I also have Ricardo Reynoso from the Mayor's Office to be able to speak to this piece.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Thank you very much. Through the chair to the committee, this is funding through the U.S. Conference of Mayors. They issued an opportunity to $150K to medium-sized cities across the country. Only 3 medium-sized cities would be awarded this money. So I was tasked with creating a pilot initiative to leverage the city's assets. And you may or may not know that the rec centers, most of them have computer labs, and so one of my goals as a digital equity inclusion manager was to ensure that all, if not most, rec centers had computer labs, and not just run-of-the-mill ones, but really top-of-the-line computer labs that were operational. And so in leveraging the labs that we currently have, we applied for this money through the U.S. Conference of Mayors. We were one of the 3 cities that were selected nationally. And this initiative is a digital skills workforce development pilot initiative that we aim to launch in 2025 for work-ready or work-age-ready residents of Cleveland, and to be able to essentially provide them more IT, digital skills-related skills so they can then be more able to secure jobs in the IT field. This is no guarantee of jobs. This is simply to provide residents an opportunity to learn new skills and to get a taste of what the IT field looks like, to see if there's a future for them in it. And so this piece of legislation is simply requesting that we are able to accept the $150K to be able to enter into agreement with, to release an RFP and enter an agreement to find vendors to deliver the services and secure the equipment and software that we need to be able to deliver this pilot initiative.
Thank you. This was relayed by Municipal Services and Properties, Councilman Bishop.
Yes, Mr. President, I fully support this piece.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no other questions, ordinance number 1215-2024 stands approved.
President.
Please sign on. Yes.
I got a couple questions now. You saying, through the chair, are you saying that you're going to create IT labs in our rec centers?
So we have computer labs. This is to leverage the computer labs, which, if you're not aware, most of them are not being fully utilized. So we want to make sure that they are fully utilized. And this program will allow us to create a pilot initiative. And ultimately, because this is a pilot initiative, assuming all goes well, then we can secure, and we make the case that we're able to deliver a successful program, secure additional funds to either expand this program or to other programs that this pilot initiative can then feed into.
Okay, through the chair. Now, what steps will be taken to increase the use of our computer labs? I mean, do you have any ideas what you'll do?
So we envision, actually, because the most advanced computer labs, through the chair to the councilman, because the most advanced computer labs are the esports locations, Estherbrook, Frederick Douglass, Cadell, Kovacic, and I know I'm missing one. Stella Walsh, yes, thank you. Those locations, because they already host esports activities, the technology, they have much more advanced technology than the other labs do. So we're focusing on those locations first to run this pilot initiative. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Just out of curiosity, we get any better benefits, like better Wi-Fi in these rec centers? Because some of these rec centers have horrible Wi-Fi, and will we actually improve and actually see that kind of benefit from these kind of projects?
Through the chair to the committee, and I'll answer on the computer labs, and then I'll defer over to Chief Ornett on the entirety of the rec center spaces. The computer labs that are currently in use have all in the past year had new computers replaced. I should say the computers that were previously have been replaced with new devices and dedicated networks. So those are robust, somewhere around 250 minimum megabits per second speeds from our testing. And so those are secure. And then I'll defer to Chief Ornett on the rest of the rec centers.
To the Council President, to the committee. In addition to that, we are hoping to go through and come up with a systematic plan to continue reviewing how the rec centers are doing technologically. So a plan to keep checking them on a periodic basis to make sure that they are staying up to date. I don't believe that we've had a rigorous schedule previous to this, but we are going to do that from this point on.
All right, thank you.
On that point,
Councilman
Mr.
Michael
President.
Valencia. Oh, go ahead. You got another question, Councilman?
Yeah, on that point, to the president's point, well, we just had a a meeting over at Stella Walsh, and I don't think this was but maybe 30 to 40 days ago.
Right.
And the Wi-Fi over at that center, and I'm saying this about Stella Walsh, but I can say this about pretty much the center in my community. That's Stella, the Wi-Fi at Stella Walsh was just not acceptable. I mean, do we have a plan to upgrade our entire network of centers with state-of-the-art technology Wi-Fi systems?
Great point.
Through the president to the committee member, we don't have a plan, but we do have a plan to develop the plan, if that makes sense. We have to we have to evaluate what the speed is at all of the buildings and understand what the connectivity is to see what's possible.
Okay, all right, thank you, Mr. President.
I just want to make sure I help you just a little bit if I could. Administrators study the problem. Council people and politicians want to know when the problem is going to be solved. So when that question is asked, that's what everybody's looking for. And that's for the listening audience so they can know how we think, okay?
Appreciate
All right,
that.
thank you. All right, Councilman Michael Polinsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, my honorable colleagues, and to the administration. And again, to follow up on Councilman Bishop's line of questioning, not only do all the centers need to be upgraded, but then again, you ran off, what, 5 or 6 centers? Where the 5 where the enhancements would be. So so what is based on the council president's line of questioning or comments? So when could we expect to see enhancements at Glenville or Collinwood? Because there's then whole northeast side. There's nothing.
Through the chair to Councilman Polensek. Actually, the 5 I mentioned were esports locations. Those are locations we identified that would be best suited to roll out the pilot initiative.
Okay.
There are currently actually 13 of the 21 rec centers that have fully operational new or updated computer labs. So our goal is to eventually expand and offer as much programming as possible at those computer labs so they're more fully utilized.
But going back to the council president's line of questioning, so when?
The process was we launched it last year. We're still not done. A couple of them are under renovation, and a couple of them, from my understanding, still have not. Either cannot, for example, either we cannot do it because there's, for example, the rec center that has gunning, which has the ice skating rink. That rec center unfortunately does not have the space to be able to do a computer lab because it's very limited.
Okay.
And then the other ones, it's a work in progress. I will check, and I can update you via email if that's helpful, Councilman
Okay,
Polensek.
Mr. Chairman, and again, I would just say to administration, we want to see all the facilities upgraded. These are important.
Agreed.
They're very important to council. So I want to make sure you're aware of that. They're always take care of council. Remember that. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Councilman. Seeing no other questions, ordinance number 1215-2024 stands approved. Please sign on. Next up is ordinance number 1251-2024 by council members Bishop and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Parks and Recreation and/or Director of Public Works and the Director of Finance to contract with one or more temporary employment agencies to provide professional services to supply temporary and seasonal personnel for the Department of Parks and Recreation and/or Department of Public Works and Project Clean program for various departments for the City of Cleveland for a period of up to 1 year. Assistant Director Laird.
Thank you, Chair. This is our annual request for legislation to canvass for entities to be able to provide us temporary service. Passage of this legislation will allow general and any other fund allocations to the Department of Parks and Recreation and Public Works, as well as the rest of the city, to provide abatement services to vacant lots, vacant structures, and parks and cemeteries. I also have with me today Jose Rodriguez, who's the new manager of the vacant property section. I did want to bring him. Why don't you come up, Jose? Wanted to make sure that everybody knew who he was. He'll be taking over the helm next year.
We'll try to break him in today.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Believe me,
I
we'll
told him
get
to
broke in, but it ain't going to happen
today.
today. Bring him in front of Councilman Bishop's committee, and we'll break him in then.
Okay, good
Okay.
enough.
All
Good
right.
enough. All right.
Okay, but welcome, sir. Welcome, welcome. Councilman Bishop, did you have any comments? This is 1251-2024, the regular seasonal.
Mr. President, I fully support this piece of legislation.
Okay, thank you. I have Councilman Brian Casey and Councilwoman Stephanie House Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, to the assistant director, right? Who have we used over the last 5 years?
Through the chair to the councilman, that would be Snyder Blake staff.
And Mr. Chairman, to the assistant director, do we have, and I know we had a robust discussion about this last year, do we have attendance on who they showed? They're a disaster when it comes to showing up, and we've had numerous conversations off the table with this. But do we have an attendance on how many times we've asked for somebody versus how many times they've shown up versus how many times somebody's only shown up once versus how many times they've only worked a part of a day? I mean, this is not working out for our summer help for our parks.
So through the chair to the councilman, we do have, we keep time records. So you got to pay people, so we do have those records. To be able to give it to you that way would take us some time to be able to, we could give you a bunch of records, but I don't think you want that. We'd have to be able to go through it to be able to show you by person and their attendance and those kind of things.
And Mr. Chairman, the assistant director, has this gone, when was the last time this went out to bid? Is this a renewal or is this for out to bid?
Through the chair to the councilman, this goes out every year. We send out this RFP every year.
All right,
So it goes out
and
annually.
when did the RFP for next year go out?
It has not, through the chair to the council.
So this is giving you authority to go out for RFP?
To accept it, but we typically try to wait before we send it out. So
No, I haven't read I haven't seen, is this to go out for bid or is this to go out for bid and accept?
It's to go out for bid. Hold on 1 second, just double check. Just to go out to bid.
So
This
this,
doesn't accept. This is right now out to bid.
all right, so Mr. Chairman, to the assistant director, this is the authority to go out for bid, but you'll have to come back to council, correct? Once the bids are back and you want to accept somebody.
So through the chair to the councilman, in the past, we have not.
So where does this say that is for past? That's what Councilman is trying to make sure that we understand. And maybe if our legal folks can make sure they look at this, what he's asking for, and I want to make sure that we answer his question.
So it's,
are we
it's authorized.
introducing-
Yeah, it's authorized us to enter into one or more contracts.
Okay, so
All right.
this is to introduce the contract. Okay.
May I see that, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
So I can offer an amendment?
Sure. First page.
It says, Works is authorized to enter into one or more contracts. So, Mr. Chairman, we have this discuss. This is 10 years we've had this discussion about temporary help and how they're not living up to their capacity, right? You know it, I know it. This piece of legislation here should just be for going out for RFP, and that's it. And then you need to be able to, we need to find authority to come back to see who you've selected. I mean, not that we don't select the vendor, but we need to be able to hold more accountable. Snyder Blake is not living up to any expectation that even you believe would be acceptable. You're new, but you're going to find out this upcoming summer. We need to take a deeper dive into this, Mr. Chairman. All summer long, that's what we hear about, is these temporary agencies. We have some of our own employees who are afraid of some of the individuals that Snyder Blake sent over. You know what I'm talking about.
So, if I could, through the chair to the councilman, there's a couple of things that I don't disagree with you on that. I don't think it is the actual agency itself. I think there are the people, and regardless of what agency, I've done this before with other agencies, they just find their way to the new agency. So you're going to have, the people are just going to migrate to where this is happening. But what we've done, we have another piece of legislation here to be able to help us try to move away from our reliance on temporary labor. It's voluminous what we do, and we're doing it for a short period of time. So to try to bring on a ton of full-time workers doesn't make a lot of sense when you're not going to work them in the wintertime. So we have reliance on this contract. In the past, it was cheaper to do it this way. In the past, it was cheaper to use this contract, and it was also better because, quite frankly, with these folks, if they don't work out, you get rid of them and get another one in a day. That doesn't happen with city workers. But today, we find out that those things that were beneficial in the past are shortly going away. So one of the things that we have, another piece of legislation, is that we're trying to use contractors to be able to do our big construction work. And that's another piece that we have in front of you today, to be able to use less of these temporary workers, to be able to move more to that. And also, we want to try to move more towards in-house staff. More. And so last year, we actually ramped up a little bit more of our seasonal real estate maintenance workers. We went from about 20 to about 55. So we're kind of slowly moving that way. But it's not something that we want to just do wholeheartedly because we just want to take our time and move slowly to that place. But I don't disagree with the use of those the temporary labor and the staffing. But you do find some folks that do work hard and you have some folks that don't. But I wouldn't put that on the agency. I would put that more on the staff that work for this agency.
Well, Mr. Chairman, to the Assistant Director, somebody's got to be held accountable. They're the ones sending us the individuals. And Mr. Chairman, there's a fund number here under Section 3, but there's no certificate of funds. It says no certificate of funds required at this time. Mr. Chairman, to the Assistant Director, how much was this contract worth in the past?
So about 4.9 million, 5 million. Sometimes it creeps up more, just depending. Everybody through the chair, I'm sorry, to the councilman, everyone throughout the city uses this contract.
Right.
And
So, Mr. Chairman, to the Director, I understand this is set by the Board of Control, but you're asking us to pass a $4 or $5 million contract with, we don't even know if it's $4 or $5 million. We've had other entities come before us today who could use that extra $1 million if we had it available. Right now, Mr. Chairman, I'm not comfortable with this, just so you know, for an FYI. Thank you.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. I will tell you that I would like for a lot of that discussion and that deep dive to happen in Councilman Bishop's committee. We know that lawn cutting and lot cutting are very important. I trust that you always usually do your homework, but I will tell you that any delay in this process, getting these workers up and running, will cause a tremendous amount of problems on the east side with the amount of things that we have. But we have a lot more lots. And that's one of the things that I just want us to keep in mind. I think what the assistant director is saying is that they are trying to transition into more of a consistent process and procedure and protocols, which I have a question about contractors in 1 second. But I just do want to caution us that any delay in trying to move this process creates a tremendous amount of backlog that in past years have cost us a tremendous amount of headaches. And I've seen it happen too many times. So I just want to caution us as we had that discussion. I have Councilwoman House Jones and then Councilwoman Rebecca Mara and Councilman Mike Polensek.
Yeah, through the chair, to the assistant director here, good afternoon. I guess the question is, what is the actual impact of this project, Project Clean, of like really understanding? I know hearing the conversation of we want to be able, it was the most cost efficient option. And I guess where is cost efficient concept versus quality? How is that weighed into this decision making to say that this is the route we're going to take?
So through the chair to the councilperson, that's a great question, and that's one of the reasons why we want to move to another piece where the other piece of legislation we want to introduce, because we understand that sometimes trying to get the amount of work that we have to get in a short amount of time, you have to sometimes try to balance quality versus quantity. So what we want to try to do is use outside contractors to help us with that quality piece. So with this, again, trying to get through this city, and I know this body has said that 7 weeks is not acceptable, but given the amount of work and the things that we have and the equipment, which we tried to cut that. We did cut that down somewhere this year. Took up some work, but again, there's still quality issues, and and I think you spoke with Commissioner Porch a lot about quality that happened out in Ward 7. So that again, that is why we're trying to move towards trying to get away from the Snyder Blake, those temporary workers, trying to move to a contractor, and also trying to get more of our in-house staff. It is something that is, I'll say it like this, it took us 20 years to kind of get to this place. It's going to take us some time to move out of it. If I were just to be honest, and I'm not trying to stall her, I just think the reality is we're trying to work through how to try to do this and not, because as the chair said, you try to make big moves at the wrong time. It could really backfire. So we want to make sure that we're doing this at the right pace, that we're still being able to provide the services we need to provide, but making those tweaks that we need to be able to get to that quality. Of course, we're not there, but we're trying to get to that place. And these are just some of the things we're trying to do to get there.
Through the chair to the assistant director and the team here, and the reason why I'm saying it is because just the quality is just not there. I mean, the quality is not there. And so versus slogging on through this to say just because we got something done, I mean, in some cases, it's just like, it's just really rethinking through what this process looks like. I'm imagining, again, I know people are very hesitant of trying to hire, under 18, but I think this could be, a thought process of thinking through very homegrown, just homegrown teams, right? Of where you can get the 16, 17, 18-year-olds thinking about entrepreneurship, the future landscapers of tomorrow. And as we're thinking about retirement, I know it's a couple of landscapers who's just like, I want to retire, but I can't because I don't have anybody know this business. So I just think there's just a level of intentional design that we just, whether we are overwhelmed and we have not stopped to think about this, but I feel like this could be we can get a better bang for our dollar with a different approach, because I feel like if you get people from their own community, and I know it's hard, it's hard to even get an adult to think about seasonal work when you have full-time life expenses. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So you only gonna attract a certain person or, a profile a lot of times that's just trying to get that quick money, not vested in the care that we need. So again, looking at a different audience, people are just entering the labor market versus someone that's just trying to get the quick dollar might be an investment that will get us to a better result as far as having a quality product when we come to the maintenance of our vacant lots. And so again, I will avail myself at least to just think through some of those things of what it could look like. And then my other question is through the chair to the team, when is this contract supposed to start?
Through the chair to the councilperson, I do appreciate that, and we will take you up on that offer to help us. This contract, it will typically starts about the end of March.
Okay, so through the chair to the team, could we think about having this contract start earlier? Just because we have seen the shifts of how weather is going, and we're getting extremely cold weather earlier, which may lead to us getting warmer weather earlier. Hence, last year, we had started getting the grass complaints in March because of the change in weather. And so if we don't have again, and I don't know, how does weather, climate impact the run of the contract, understanding the shifts in weather patterns that are happening?
Through the chair to the councilperson, the weather has a huge impact on that. And so there's times when we start earlier, there's times we start later based on the weather. This is a wraparound kind of contract, so when one is ending, the other is kind of starting. So we typically don't have a lapse between the two. So they're always kind of going at the same. So it's kind of like this ever-ending, never-ending kind of, when one ends, the other one's beginning. But yeah, to your point, that's some of the things that we came together. We've been talking about, actually we've been meeting weekly about how we can change what we do. And some of those things have come up through the chair to the councilperson.
And then also versus doing the chair to the team here, versus taking a bite out of the whole chump, maybe looking at some areas, some targeted areas to do a different approach to see if this is something that can be expanded or grown out for people or, communities that may be willing to be a partner, right?
Absolutely.
To say, hey, we have X amount of people that are ready, willing to go down this path with you. If you're willing to, let's try it. So, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilwoman Rebecca Moore.
Thank you very much, Council President. I have two points I'd like to make. So the first is around the idea of the quality of people Snyder Blake are bringing in and the ability to retain them. I just want to share an anecdote, which is that I referred somebody from my ward through Snyder Blake to be a part of the team. And I was told by his supervisors, by the staff at Dobbin South, hardest worker of the entire season. And that was 3 seasons ago. And he was not able to come on board as a full-time city employee. They made him come back again through Snyder Blake, then again through Snyder Blake. Even though he was one of the best performers for the entire season out of Dobbin South, there was no path for me to help or for him to get into the city and work on the grass mowing teams in the summer. And, I just think we need to echo what Councilman Casey and Councilwoman House Jones said, thinking about how we do this, that the reliance on outside contractors means we're not separating the wheat from the chaff, and we're not retaining the wheat. We're not keeping the good people that come in every season through Snyder Blake. And frankly, when they get trained up, they're going to find another way to move on because they're getting the lowest wages out of Snyder Blake, and we're paying a premium to Snyder Blake that if we would just hire them, we could give somebody a better quality of life to do this work, and who we know is reliable and who has shown up for multiple seasons. So I think the idea of a pathway out of temp work for the folks that succeed each season is critical. And as far as I've seen, there really hasn't been that. So that's point number one. Point number two, it really struck me, section 2 of this legislation, again, I'm reading 1251, 2024, says the compensation to be paid for the services shall be fixed by the Board of Control. And I would just like it on the record, Assistant Director, that you are under the same understanding that I am, that we have set a minimum fair wage amount in the city of Cleveland, and that the wage that that will be given to the employees, with the understanding that we have to pay a premium on top of that, is going to be what is set under the city's fair wage law. Through the chair, is that correct?
Through the chair to the councilman, that's correct. I believe it's 1585 now.
Okay, thank you.
So we do, that will be a part of what we send out.
Yes, and I thank you for saying that, because that 1585 includes the increase under inflation that we're now set to implement every October. And so my understanding is that, yes, it should currently be back up to 1585.
Yeah.
So thank you. I will look forward to whatever goes through the Board of Control meeting that minimum at the very least.
Through the chair to the council president, if I could, just really quickly, I know we're late on time, but I did want to say that I wholeheartedly accept and agree with what you're saying about the pathway, and that's some of the things that we have talked about, why we are trying to move more towards bringing folks in-house. But I can say that, I think you all know Tamisha Krisman. She was actually a Snyder Blake employee. There are several folks, before there was Snyder Blake, Commissioner Porch actually was a seasonal employee. So we do try to bring in the best, try to make them full-time. That was one of the things that we did last year. Some of those seasonal real estate maintenance workers were former Snyder Blake employees. So we don't do it well enough, though. We can do better. And so I'll make sure that folks like the one that you're talking about, we make sure we keep our eye on those kind of folks, trying to find a better pathway to bring them in. I do want to stress, we do want to move away from that model. But again, just in my experience, you don't want to trash in 1 year and kind of move on. You've got to really, I just believe you got to be systematic about it. We're moving that way. Again, the quality being one of the things that we do think about.
Great, thank you very much. And just because it happened last year, I'm also going to check. We're not going to post any advertisements for these jobs at like $14 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
That was a mistake we made last year. So 1585.
That's correct.
All right,
Through the
thank
chair.
you very much. Those are my questions. Council
Thank
President.
you. I have Councilman Michael Polensek and then Councilman Kevin Conley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, my honorable colleagues, and to follow up on Councilman Casey, Councilman House Jones's line of questioning. And I appreciate, Assistant Director, your transparency and frankness about what's happened. I can recall when we didn't have outside contractors. I didn't know, we did everything internally. I didn't know what a vacant lot was. I didn't know what an abandoned house was. Now we're, what, 18,000 vacant lots?
Actually, we serviced about 37,000.
37,000. Does that include the vacant homes as well?
With vacant structures, we serviced 2,975.
Okay, so there's the challenge that we're confronted with. So we've gone from virtually nothing, the majority of us here, to that were here at the time, to now we've got this major problem. So I'm very much aware. I appreciate your comments that you're reevaluating, because again, I'm like most, I think we have to look at hiring additional people. I don't believe Director Williams, who I believe is an outstanding director, I don't believe he has enough people. I don't believe he has enough equipment. So I look at my own street. There's got to be half a dozen people that cut grass. About half of them are minorities, and a couple of them are women who cut grass. And I keep thinking, and I look how fast they cut a lawn, and boom, 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 they're going. I kept thinking to myself, why aren't we taking a section of the city, a quadrant, a section saying, and putting an advertisement out saying, submit a bid to cut grass. Now, my question to specific is through Snyder Blake. It's one thing to cut grass, and it's another thing to remove junk and debris. Now, did Snyder Blake remove the junk and debris?
They do. So, through the chair and to the councilman, Snyder Blake are assigned to cut the grass and remove debris as well.
So then they would remove, like if there was illegal dumping, they would put that, out in the apron or out in the tree lawn? Because I've seen that. Is that what the process is?
Correct, through the chairman.
And then someone else comes and picks that up, correct?
Correct, through the chairman.
Okay. So again, maybe we do this. Just a thought. Maybe we use Snyder Blake to remove the illegal dumping, and we start contracting with someone to cut the grass. Because I think there's a better way to do this. Now, my question is, of the 10 council people, the 10 wards where there was additional crews put on, do we know how that worked?
So through the
Because I hear mixed comments.
Yeah. So through the chair to the councilman, it is a mixed bag. But I think for the most part, the folks who have been continuing to use it are happy with it. I think there are some folks who use it and weren't happy with it and stopped.
Okay.
So I'll leave it at that. As far as the preference for it, I can't really say other than if they keep using it, I'm assuming they're good with it.
Okay.
If they stopped, then they don't want it anymore.
Because I wasn't happy with it, and I stopped.
Yep. There you go.
So, because I'm saying to myself, why am I utilizing ward funds when I believe this should be an internal function of the city?
Understood.
So at the end of the day, I'm just hoping that you really sit down and evaluate and engage council members for their thoughts and opinions, because I want to see, we have residents in our wards that can cut grass. We have local contractors that can do it. I think we need to try to hire as many local people, because I don't know what Snyder Blake, they can hire anybody, correct?
Through the chair to the councilperson, yes.
Okay. So, and I'm not, and I go with the council president. We've got to be prepared to act quickly, but at the same time, I think we got to start rethinking how we're doing things around here. Because I see if we can retain more full-time employees, we can utilize them year-round for other projects. They're just not going to cut grass. I mean, we could use them for snow removal. We can use them for waste collection pickup. We could use them for a whole lot of things. I think we just got to think out of the box. To my brothers and sisters, unless someone can figure out how to get rid of 30-some thousand lots, and what did you say, 20, how many houses?
2,975 structures.
Okay. We got a massive mega problem on our hands, and nobody here at this table, I can tell you, created that, but we're challenged with it, and I think the viewing public needs to understand how big the problem is, but there's got to be a better way to do things, and I would hope when we come budget time, Mr. Chairman, I would hope that the administration would come to the table and really tell us for the first time in decades what you really need. What do you really need to be able to cut grass or to get out there and do the things that need to be done? We might not be able to do it, but you know what? I've always said this. We always want to hear good news at the table. Who doesn't? But as long as I'm hearing the honest news, I can deal with that. And then we can figure out collectively here what we need to do. But again, I'm hearing it all about Snyder Blake. Good jobs, bad jobs. We've all had the problems with the high grass, we just got to figure out, and I'm glad to hear that the administration is thinking in different terms, and the proof will be in the pudding. So that's where I'm at, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councilman Kevin Conwell.
Yeah, thank you very much. You know what? And I'm disappointed in our recruiting. You know, you could, and I was listening to Council Lady Moore mentioned about workers coming in. You got to bring them in, and you have to cultivate them. I mean, if you have a good worker there, 1 or 2 or 3, maybe even more than that, you're saving on recruitment dollars. I don't know your system of training the workers. I don't know, do you evaluate them? I don't know, do you give them an exit interview or something like that so that we can pass a worker on to work at another position? You use them, put them on the shelf, and then you get rid of them. And then you go on the other side and you try to recruit people. But if you have a good worker there, you keep that good worker, you cultivate that good worker that you have there through the chair. I don't understand that. And then you have like a system, and I took care of that. Your recreation department is being changed up because of that. I wrote down some notes. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. You know, when you bring a worker in and you got like the tales of two cities that's there. You have a worker coming in from Snyder and Blake, and then you integrate them with a worker that's already working in the city of Cleveland, okay? And then that worker, maybe from Snyder and Blake, feels bad because they don't fit into that culture, or they won't let them into that culture, and then the worker from Snyder and Blake end up quitting. I don't like that at all. And I called you about it, and I talked with you about that. And you know what I'm talking about now, don't you? That's horrible. That's horrible. You don't treat workers like that. You bring them in, you cultivate the worker and everything. You make them, you train constantly train people. But sometimes you might take a worker and they might see a bad habit from the workers that you already have working in a department, and then they follow that, and then we get rid of them. But you gotta constantly evaluate. I don't understand those things through the chair, to the assistant director. You gotta cultivate workers. You have to bring them in. It's saving dollars. Through the chair.
Okay, through the chair to the council person. What's one good thing about having Mr. Rodriguez here as our new manager? That's one of the things that he specializes in, is that it's high on his list is training. Mm-hmm. And the whole model. That is something that we've been talking about pretty deeply for the last couple of weeks. So it is, again, as we are moving away from, attempting to move away from using temporary labor, we understand that to be able to do that, you've got to have quality people. And so he actually has a manual that he put together, not something that we would share with you now, but it's something that's still in works. But yeah, so I wholeheartedly accept that, and that's something that we are moving towards.
Not just quality people through the chair. You got to train workers constantly. You catch them doing something right, you say you're doing a good job, it's well done. If they're doing something wrong, you constantly train them. I don't care if they're doing the lots like Councilmember Mike Polensek was narrating. You train them to do the lots right. Or whatever job spots you have, you train them. And they may not be the right fit for that spot, and then by you knowing that you're training the worker, then you could transfer the worker to another position so that we could keep them. That's money. Attrition costs money to the chair, to the assistant director. It costs money to recruit. It costs money to train people. It costs money when you, and then they leave with a bad behavior, then they tell other people, don't work for the city. Snyder and Blake could be used as a tool to do that. But if they don't get along with the other workers, then you just spit them out. And that's not good. That's not good at all. I understand your system. Man, I used to work for Pepsi, NBA, the whole 9 yards. I studied your system, and I looked at everything that you had there. You gotta bring people in. This lady just mentioned also the same problem, an issue that I had with you guys 2 years ago. 2 years ago, the same issue. You blowing dollars. You blowing labor dollars. You, welcome aboard, but you gotta train people. You gotta make them wanna stay there. And that helps us out. But when you just get rid of people, you kick them aside, that doesn't feel good. And it's not right. It's not right at all. And you gotta create that kind of culture and environment. And you know what I'm talking about. And that's one of the reasons, through the chair, that even your recreation department is broken up now. And you know that, and you know what I'm talking about, because I took notes and I turned it in and I talked about it. I'm so disappointed. We lost dollars. I don't know why you guys weren't paying attention to that. I called you, I talked with you about it, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. And when I heard Rebecca, the council lady, mention it, I'm really disappointed. I'm disappointed. Do you have an evaluation process when they leave, or you just tell them goodbye, toodaloo, and they're gone?
Through the chair to the council, we do have an evaluation process.
All right. And when they come in, do you train them?
Through the chair to the council, yes. We have training, ongoing training as new people come in, but there's a couple of weeks that we spend with training folks that come in.
Okay, and then with the workers, I just hope you guys do better, man. I mean, I talk with you about it. You know I have. We had the conversations, and I talked with the council president about it as well. You know, I'm not the chair of recreation, or I would have brought you guys in, man, and you would have got the riot act on stuff. I don't chair that committee. I don't sit on that committee. But hey, I would have did what I had to do, and you know what I'm talking about. I'm not a happy camper. That's where I'm at. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman Conwell. Seeing no other questions, ordinance number 1251-2024 stands approved. Thank you. I do want to make sure that you have a follow-up with Councilman Bishop, because we really want to make sure before the season starts how you guys plan on rolling out. And one point of personal privilege, I do want to see if I can get either you, Director Williams, and the new commissioner to meet with a group of contractors who currently receive a grant from St. Luke's Foundation to mow lots in the Woodland Hills community. And I would like to set up a time when you guys can meet with them just so that they can make their pitch. And then I do know that they would like to apply to be one of the contractors in that area. Okay? And that's the Buckeye Ministers Mission, Buckeye's Mission Ministry and something like that, BMMA. But the Buckeye Ministers, and they already are doing some work already with St. Luke's Foundation. Okay? All right. Next ordinance is ordinance number 1315-2024 by council members Bishop and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Works to contract with one or more consultants or firms of consultants to provide professional services to manage the nuisance abatement process for vacant and occupied structures within the city of Cleveland for a period of up to 1 year. We just really kicked this one around along with the former one, but if you have any comments that you would like to make, please move forward.
Thank you, Chair. This
had a robust conversation on it.
Absolutely, we did. And this is our answer to try to get to that place of quality and moving away from Snyder Blake.
Just out of curiosity, how many contractors do you plan on trying to get?
To the Chair, last year when we did this, we've done this for about 2 years, but we haven't done it in an RFP process. And we had we started about 10 contractors, whittled down to about maybe, by the time we got to the end of the season, probably about 3 or so that were still performing.
Okay.
And one of the things that we came across or found as an issue is that the ones that were really performing, because of the way we had to do it through competitive bidding, they were locked into an area. So they couldn't go any further. But we had each contractor had an area, and if they failed, We just, that area, we had to take it over. So,
So if you could you make sure you let us know when you're going to put out the RFP so
Absolutely.
that we can make sure that people know it in advance?
We will.
And would want to make sure, I don't know if you're going to have a bidding conference or whatever.
We will have a
But
bidding.
I want to make sure that we put all those notifications out.
we'll do.
Okay. Seeing no other questions, ordinance number 1315-2024 stands approved. Thank you. 1 second. All right, next one is ordinance number 1308-2024 as amended by council members Polinsik, Bishop, and Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Works to accept a donation of real estate located at 15891 East 159th Street from McDonald's Real Estate Company for use by the Department of Public Works. Director. And there's an amendment?
I think so.
I will read the amendment. There's already one amendment. Are we doing another amendment? The first amendment says there is no legal objection to this legislation if amended as follows. 1, in section 1, in the legal description, in 6th paragraph, line 2, strike cord and the special symbol that follows that word and insert cord equal sign. And this was done 11/26/2024 by Kevin Roberts, Chief Assistant Director of Law. And there was another, well, actually, that's the same one that had already got in there.
Okay.
So you guys already sent the amendment for that, just to let you know. Okay. Director, please proceed.
I have Commissioner DeGeneres to be able to speak to this. So
Thank
turn
you.
it over to Commissioner.
Yep, thank you, Director. The City of Cleveland intends to improve East 159th Street, the right-of-way, north of Lakeshore Boulevard, which is where the historic Euclid Beach Park Arch is currently located. This is the iconic arch that welcomed visitors to the amusement park, the Euclid Beach Amusement Park, until it closed in 1969. The arch, as a result of the roadway improvements, needs to be relocated, but because it's in a very fragile state, it cannot be relocated very far away. So my division, the Division of Real Estate, was able to successfully negotiate a donation of land immediately adjacent to the west. The address is 15891 East 159th Street. It's approximately an acre and a half. It's owned by McDonald's Real Estate Company, and they have generously agreed to donate the land to the city. The city intends to redevelop the land into a park, and it will be the future home of the historic arch. And the city will also place a plaque in the park acknowledging McDonald's gift. This is in Ward 8, Councilman Polensik's ward, and he is in support. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilman. This was relieved by Municipal Services. Councilman Bishop.
Yes, Mr. President, we fully support this piece.
All right, Councilman Polensik.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, my own colleagues. I want to thank Councilman Bishop for relieving it. The arch, which is owned by the city of Cleveland and a historic landmark, has been hit on several occasions and has moved, the western pylon has been moved off its base. As a result of that, and the fact that we are assessing the adjacent property owners to widen East 159th north of Lakeshore Boulevard, it was a decision to move it. And I want to thank McDonald's Corporation for donating the land. We have set aside money to move the historic arch, hopefully in one piece, and create a public access there for the residents who live specifically north of Lakeshore Boulevard. So I'd urge my colleagues to please support this piece of legislation to protect the historic arch. Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no other questions, ordinance number 1308-2024 as amended stands approved. Please sign on.
Thank you.
One more piece for Public Works. And then we'll hear one piece by Chief Pryor Jones. Okay, this next one is ordinance number 1310-2024 by council members Bishop and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing the Director of Public Works to enter one or more contracts without competitive bidding with Excellence, Inc. to provide, repair, the maintenance services to an ambulance vehicle currently under warranty with Excellence, Inc. for the Division of Motor Vehicle Maintenance, Department of Public Works.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to turn
Assistant
this over.
Director.
Thank you. I'm going to turn this over to Commissioner Jeff Brown. Can speak
Commissioner.
to that.
To the chair, to the council people. This was the ambulance that were in a heavy collision damage several months ago. It was literally brand new. It had 2,000 miles on it when it was hit, and it suffered severe damage. We are asking to have this direct award to Excellence because the vehicle has a lifetime structural warranty, and to have it repaired by any other facility would void that warranty. And as a vehicle being so new, we'd like to be able to maintain that warranty.
Thank you, Commissioner. And who was at fault with the accident?
I do not have that information. I do not believe that we were at fault. I do know that that we are trying to recover damages through the law department.
Okay, I was wondering, why aren't we going after the other person's insurance if we...
We are.
We
The
are.
law department has the information.
I have a question there.
I don't specifically have the information. We turned over all the information to our law department, and they are pursuing it. But typically, in any accident, we pay up front, and then when we recover the damages,
Interesting.
the city is reimbursed. We always pay up front.
Huh. Okay. It's not how I would do it, but Councilman Plinsick.
Mr. Chairman, to my honorable colleagues and to the Assistant Director, to the Commissioner, was this the mayor's SUV?
No, this is an ambulance. This is Medic 42, stationed out of Station 42 on Pearl.
Medic 42.
Yes.
Okay, so the vehicle was hit when?
The accident occurred on 11/12/23.
Okay, and the vehicle has been repaired?
It has not been repaired. We are requesting to have it repaired by the manufacturer.
And what is the cost of that?
$90,562.
And so, and it was hit by an individual or a commercial vehicle?
I believe it was hit by an individual.
Individual, okay. So, as Acting Chair McCormick asked, the city's law department is taking appropriate action.
Through the chair to the councilman, yes, they are.
Okay. And how long before you think the vehicle is put back into service?
If this is approved, I would have to check with the manufacturer, but I would estimate anywhere from around 90 days.
And how old was the vehicle?
When it was hit, it was less than 6 months old.
Oh, boy. Okay. And so, do we have sufficient number of spares?
Through the chair to the councilman, yes, we do.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Brian Casey. All right, seeing no other questions, ordinance number 1310-2024 stands approved. Please sign on.
Thank you.
And I look forward to having a follow-up conversation with you and Director Williams and the commissioner to try to get a meeting with the Buckeye minister so you could talk about your program.
Absolutely. As soon as I get back, I'll talk to him about it.
Thank you. All right. Chief Pryor Jones. This is a walk-on piece, ordinance number 1309-2024 by Councilmember Santana, Bishop, and Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance to amend Section 2 of ordinance number 313-2024, passed April 22nd, 2024, relating to professional consultants to design and implement projects to support transformation of city recreation centers into trauma-informed neighborhood resource and recreation centers, and to develop programs and activities. Chief and Director.
Yeah, through the chair to the committee, this is to amend ordinance 313
2024 to add $236,121 for youth and family programs, specifically 2 different contracts, a new contract for Esports Scholar in the amount of $146,121, and a renewal of a contract for Greater Cleveland Neighborhood Centers Association for $90,000. It should be noted that funding for this was included in the transfer ordinance that was passed by this committee earlier today.
Okay, thank you. Just briefly, Chief, did you have any comments that you wanted to add to this?
Thank you, Chair. The only thing I would say is this is an important ordinance that makes sure that we are fully programmed and up and running for spring and summer. I heard council members mention a number of things earlier that tie right to these 2 contracts. First and foremost, esports, as you all recall, is something that got discussed earlier. We've had this program for several years now. This new contract is because the last contract met its full term. This contract includes Glenville because we found out that we have some inequities as far as esports is concerned across the city. Glenville was the only high school that did not have a program nor a program in or near the rec center. So we're fulfilling that obligation with this. The other thing I would mention was Councilwoman House Jones mentions jobs for children. Our other contract here with Greater Cleveland Neighborhoods allows us, and we highlighted both of these in our operational hearing, but that particular program allows us to get our youngest children ready for workforce by providing them with a stipend-based program. And so I just wanted to elevate that, as I know today these things were brought up. And to your point, Chairman, you're always concerned about what's being solved. These are 2 contracts that are helping us solve some of those issues.
Thank you, Council. Thank you. I wouldn't want to.
That's okay. It's been a long day. It's Chief.
I wouldn't want to curse
Yeah,
you with that.
no.
But thank you,
But I
Director.
thank you.
Chief Pryor Jones. Been a long day. I apologize. Just one quick question before I just get it relieved. Just one quick question. The 236,121, is that from money already encumbered or unencumbered?
To the chair, I'll turn it to Director Gentile.
To the chair, the committee members, this was actually put this in the transfer ordinance.
Right.
So this was from a different spot.
Okay, so this is money on top of what we already have been paying for this program.
Through the chair, that's correct.
Okay, but it is reflected in the transfer ordinance.
Through the chair, that's correct.
Okay, this was relieved by workforce, which I know that Councilwoman Santana was okay relieving it, even though we got to work on the system to make sure that everybody gets a lot of notification on a lot of these. And then municipal services, Councilman Bishop.
Yes, Mr. President, we relieved it. I do want to note that we normally have not heard PIO legislation, but we have relieved it. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. I believe I have Councilman Brian Casey and Councilman Michael Palencia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, this piece here is about process, right? It's not about the program at all, right? But here we have a walk-on piece, right, that's asking for an additional almost $250,000 that was in the transfer order that they just sat here a half hour ago and told us that they would have to come back before council to expend anything over $50,000, and this is their way of coming back before council when it really hasn't had time to be vetted. So, Mr. Chairman, to whoever walked this on, why is this piece so important? And I'm not saying that I'm against the program and all that other stuff, but why is this piece so important that it has to be, it's very frustrating to get this piece like this when you know the process, right? So, Mr. Chairman, to either our finance or Chief Jones, why is this piece so immediate?
Through the chair to the councilman, the piece is immediate because of timing. The next season starts January 6th. This body won't be meeting again, and so we've got a little challenge with the timing due to the holidays.
All right, and Mr. Chairman and Ms. Pryor Jones, lack of planning on your part shouldn't constitute an immediate response from us. Just if you knew that this was coming back or needed to be done by January 6th, you probably should have brought it back in August, September, October, like it usually happens. So just because the administration wasn't prepared to bring this back until now, doesn't mean that it should fall on us because as a walk-on, because nobody at this table is prepared. You were generously gifted from two chair people a relief, right, so that this can't be vetted. And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, but what I'm saying is this is very aggravating sitting on this side of the table, that it has to be a walk-on piece in a transfer order looking for almost $250,000.
I'm going to let the administration answer this because those were some of the same concerns that I had, Councilman, but I do want to state this. On November the 13th, Chief Pryor Jones submitted something to the administration. I don't know what happened between November the 13th and November the 25th, but it was not introduced until November the 25th. So because we didn't get it until November the 25th, and this is our last meeting before we break for the December, Chief Pryor Jones imposed upon me how important it was for us to try to move this, even though all of us had the same apprehensions that you have. I always tell people this, as the administration can answer, because I don't want to answer where the breakdown happened to their side, but I do want to make it clear that this was introduced on November the 25th, and that's the first chance that council had a chance to get it. So I want to make sure that our process, that people understand that, but I do know that Chief Pryor Jones submitted something on November the 13th.
And just on your point, Mr. Chairman, was this not part of the wish list that came out last week? Again,
Yeah, I
was
think
it?
later in the day, but as you said, I had some apprehensions at first too. Mr.
Okay,
Gentile.
thank you.
Yeah, through the chair, let me explain this a little bit further of kind of where we're at right now. During the year for the Youth Opportunity Program, we were having a shortfall with the employment youth. So we had to, Chief Pryor Jones had to program this amount of money to keep the youth working. So this would have been done much earlier, but we had to take that funding to keep the youth working in the youth program. Yeah, we should have put it in a little bit sooner. I agree with that. And next time we'll make sure that we do that. But that's kind of why this got shifted to this far. So it really wasn't the PIO's office. This would have been put in much sooner.
Whoever. I'm not saying it was you.
Yeah, it would have been put in much sooner if we didn't have to kind of divert that fund for the youth funding for the employment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman Casey. Councilman Michael Palenci.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, my honorable colleagues, to the administration, to the chief. And I would follow up on Councilman Casey's, because no one said anything during the transfer ordinance with regard to that fund, to that dollars being allocated. It would have been very easy to say it during the transfer ordinance that this is what it was for. And now here's the legislation in front of us. So again, I question the process as well. But I want to say this. I want to understand this. So right now, all of the high schools are covered in the city, you said, except for Glenville?
Except for Glenville.
Specifically, through the chair to Councilman Polensek, right now, all of the high schools have an esports program or esports in their local recreation center, except for Glenville. This ordinance will correct that.
So this will go into the high school or the rec center at Glenville?
This will go to the rec center, but as you know, Glenville High School and Rec Center, I attended Glenville High School, they're connected, and so there are many resources of that rec center that the school uses.
Okay. So I want to be assured that. So at either a high school or a rec center, we're covered citywide?
Yes, this will allow us to be covered citywide at the high school level with esports.
Okay. So then at the rec centers, when the folks appear at the rec centers or assigned to the rec center, do they have to sign in? How do we know who's at the rec centers?
Through the chair to Councilman Polensek, a couple of ways. There is a front desk person at the recreation center that they sign in with, and then the specific programs that we organize through the expanded programs process are also having people register and sign up through Civic Rec. I believe you all have heard from our new recreation director and commissioner about that process, and so those are the multiple ways. We also have the individual instructors or vendors that are part part of the expanded programs work, actually sign people up on a regular basis.
Okay, so if any council person asked on a Pacific Rec Center, you could tell us what days staff is there and what programs.
Through the chair to Councilman Polenzek, we can tell you specifically which days and programs that fall under the expanded programs portfolio.
Okay, I want to make sure that they're, because I might be asking those questions at a given rec center, given location, given high school. I want to make sure, because we have funded a lot of programs here. We have funded a lot of violence interruption programs, and you name it, we've funded them. And I want to make sure we're having the impact that we're supposed to have here. I want to make sure we're having that impact, and that we can point to measurable successes, that we're achieving this, or we're coming into contact with this level of students or young people, because obviously growing concerns that all of us have with the situation we're dealing with juvenile violence and juvenile crime in the city, and preventing that and being upfront with it. So I want to make sure that there's accountability in all these programs that we're funding, and that's going to be a big question going into next year with me. Measurable. I want to start to measure, maybe more so than ever, the successes that we're having in some of these areas. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Councilwoman Spencer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With the chief and Ms. Eulery at the table, I wanted to just ask for a bit of guidance. I am still not totally in sync and comfortable with our new civic rec system. And I know that, listen, I'm a little technophobe at times, I'll admit, but I think that our residents might not be there either. So I'm wondering, is there, and that's so funny seeing in the audience that I'm a technophobe, but is there a way to get information to members about kind of the integration of civic rec and what your office is doing and what rec is doing in order to get more residents aware of the array of programming that the city is now offering? Through the chair.
Through the chair to Councilwoman, great question. As you know, with any new systems, bringing them online takes a little bit of time. And I think we've got two things in partnership with Recreation, because they own Civic Rec. We're just a support. Two things we really have to fight against to get full usage. One is communication, marketing, right? That this is a tool we all have available to us. This is how you use it. The other is getting people comfortable with actually using it, because that really is not just a technology shift, but it's a culture shift. Many of the recreation and other youth kind of center programs have been using this kind of enrollment technology for a long time. That is new to all of us in Cleveland. And so I would encourage us, in partnership with Recreation, to come to one of the committees, whatever you all deem appropriate, Council President, to give an update on how that's going and find ways that we could better, from the administration side, partner with council members to really ensure that people are using the system. The other thing I want to remind us is that we do have a recreation bulletin that comes out for each season. And so that is another way for residents to find out what's available, and for you, Councilman Polenzek and others, to be able to see what's available at all of our centers on what days and what times.
One quick follow-up question and then a comment. The question is, through the chair, am I correct, however, that PIOYYA programming is included in Civic Rec currently? And then the other comment is, I think I still want to do more to support the marketing side of it as well. So any materials that we can get that we can include in our newsletters or anything else would be very helpful.
Thank you, Councilwoman, and yet, through the chair to Councilwoman. And yes, the PIO programs are in there, and yes, we would love that. I think maybe even if we have a presentation about Civic Rec, at the same time, we could bring forth a group of City of Cleveland youth residents who have lots of marketing and communications ideas. We actually hired them through the Summer YOU process last summer and the summer before to share ideas on how we can improve communication to them and their peers. And so I think they would love to, we would love to share what we have and what those young people from your communities have offered up to us as well.
Thank you. Councilwoman Deborah Gray.
Thank you, Chair. I know I came in on the last tab, but I just want to say, are you working in partnership with the new Director of Parks and Recreation? Does Ms. Nicholas, is she aware of this program as well?
Through the chair to Councilwoman, absolutely. We are very excited that Director Nichols has joined us. She's already met with me, my team. We've introduced her to some of our other external partners. She was, in fact, a part of a large collaborative partnership meeting this morning. And so, absolutely, we are partners in this. All of this work is aligned. And so we're bridging all of those relationships.
Okay, seeing no other questions, ordinance number 1309-2024 stands approved. Thank you, Director. This Committee of Finance, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion is adjourned to the next call of the chair.